Let's get this thing cracking.
I'm absolutely fantastic. How are you?
All good. Obviously, the zone private deal. Fights like Boots and this, and White and UFC is the fights that they probably want to see. Tell me the latest about what's going on with that?
I can't really give you a complete answer on that. I know that Virgil has, I believe, issues to come to a head with Golden Boy. I think on Friday. We want to make the fight. We don't really mind how it's made, but we'll do it within the rules. But I think on Friday we'll get a much clearer picture of what's possible. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, Boots and Virgil are the number 1, number 2, 154 pounders in the world. I mean, Josh Kelly might not be too happy, but he's right on their tails. And it's time to find out who the best is. And for me, that's the best fight in boxing. So I hope we can find a way somehow to keep everybody happy and get it over the line.
Has Matchroom offered Virgil a sort of contract? There's rumours of a 3-fight contract maybe that you've offered. Is there anything that you can tell us in regards to that?
No, because we have to wait for the decision to unfold. And there's been conversations. I mean, look, Rick Merrigan is obviously the manager, and you've got the lawyer there who's, there've been conversations with a number of people, not just Matchroom. I mean, Virgil Ortiz is one of the best fighters in the world. So there's a lot of promoters that have been trying to sign him. Our focus is on trying to make the fight a great fight between those two guys. I've been trying to make this fight for 4 or 5 months. And I'll be really pissed off and gutted if we don't get it over the line. And if we do get it over the line, I'll be over the moon. And I believe the boxing fans will be over the moon. And again, we'll do everything we can within the realms of our powers to make that fight. And hopefully we can do it with everybody happy to move forward.
Eddie, I've heard a rumour that apparently the IBF will not be sanctioning of Jar Pattaya versus Brandon Glanton. If that is the case, and Jar is stripped, how bad would that be for kind of ZUFFA boxing and the signing of Jar?
I think this is a really pivotal moment for the sport, that fight. And I find it fascinating what's going to happen. You see, there will now be the ZUFFA belt on the line, right? So that gives the opportunity for a governing body to say, no, we're not co-sanctioning our fight with another world championship body that actually isn't even recognised. Or what might be the problem is the IBF are saying, ZUFFA are saying to the IBF, you're not welcome, right? Jai will pay your fees, but you won't be in the ring. We won't be having a supervisor. We won't be paying your hotels. We won't be paying any sanction fees. We won't. And by the way, if I'm the IBF, I turn around and because this is the moment, right?
Yeah, this is absolutely the moment where the conflict of ZUFFA boxing and the rest of the governing bodies of boxing are going to be. Let's hear what Eddie Hearn has to say about this. And by the way, we're going to get to the Nancy Guthrie situation as well. Sit tight.
We shouldn't fuck around with this because they're going to fuck you. ZUFFA are going to fuck you. Mauricio Suleiman, Daryl Peoples, Gilberto Mendoza, they don't want you anywhere near what they're doing. So whether they fuck you now or they fuck you in 6 months' time, they're going to fuck you. So let's just get it out of the way now.
Shamrock Freddy says, hi, hello, Shamrock Freddy. Let me know what part of the world you are from. I'm assuming with a name like Shamrock Freddy, you are an Irishman, or maybe you just like shamrocks. Either way, you're very welcome on this page. Let me know what part of the world you are from. Today, a couple of topics we're going to touch. Number one, the number one topic in all of the United States right now, if not the world, okay, the whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie and why this has captured the attention of America in its current news cycle. How you doing? Afternoon. Hey, buddy, how are you? Eddie Hearn fires back at Dana White after the UFC and ZUFFA boxing president described his rival promotions in boxing as babies. He says it was like dealing with babies, no resistance whatsoever. Now, I don't know what he means by that. but we're going to get to it. And Eddie Hearn had something to say about it. He was not thrilled or happy about it. Hear what Eddie Hearn had to say in response. Also, another bonus content we're going to cover in this live stream is Mark Zuckerberg on trial for a Facebook lawsuit. Now, the question is, should children consume Facebook or any other social media sites? Because that is sort of the focal point of the lawsuit that is going on with Mark Zuckerberg. So we're going to talk about that, because why not? Mark Zuckerberg is one of the boys now, right? He trains MMA, right? He trains with all of these fighters. As I'm sure all of these fighters are probably in support of him, you know, throughout these troubling times that he's going through. I mean, it's a lawsuit, for crying out loud, and it's Mark Zuckerberg. How much money can they really extract from Mark Zuckerberg that would make it life-changing for him, right? Fresh Melon Juice says, I skipped lunch today. I am a Muslim now. So let me get this straight. You are having lunch. That means you live in the East Coast, or you live somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean if it is afternoon time for you. See, I'm catching on to you, Fresh Melon Juice, right? I'm catching on to you. You skipped lunch. It's still breakfast around the United States right now. It is 6:48 a.m. in the morning in the West Coast, and in the East Coast, it is probably 6:49 a.m. So where are you in the world? If you are in the afternoon, he says, I'm Ramadan man. You're Ramadan man. What a dumb name for, you know, that's like saying I'm the Christmas man, or I don't know, but it doesn't hold weight. But anyways, you're welcome here nonetheless. Obviously, you know, in those days that you were missing in action, a lot of people were asking about you. So here you are. All right, so let's get to this Eddie Hearn situation first, right? And then we'll get to the Nancy Guthrie situation when more people pile up in here, because obviously I think that is the bigger news. But I think this is also a very sensationalized news with Eddie Hearn going at it with Dana White.
So if I'm the IBF, I'm writing to ZUFFA.
Okay, so now the story right now goes, the IBF is not willing to sanction the fight between Brandon Glanton and Jai Apataya, the newly signed fighter that is in the ZUFFA banner, right? Because what ZUFFA is trying to do right now is create their own league and create their own sanctioning bodies. It's a very arrogant but very bold type of move that they are doing. Now, obviously, the sanctioning bodies of boxing have been around for a long time, and as a result of that, they are willing to protect that at all costs, right? And here's another thing, right? If you are a boxer, specifically a boxer, not necessarily an MMA fighter or a kickboxer, what belts are you gunning for when you put on those gloves as a boxer? Is it the WBU belt? By the way, there is such thing as a WBU belt. There's an IBO belt, okay, which is a newly sanctioning body, and a lot of people don't necessarily recognize the IBO. Very similar to the WBO from back in the days, right? There was a time where people said that Chris Eubanks Sr. was not a real champion because of his belt that came from a sanctioning body known as the WBO. Well, now ZUFFA belt is sort of in that category right now, right? And you know how boxing people are. They don't like change. They don't like change at all. But from what it seems like, ZUFFA boxing is pushing a change. Pushing a certain change that, quite frankly, bugs a lot of people in the world of boxing. But let's hear what Eddie Hearn had to say about this, right? And more to follow on the Jai Apataya IBF situation.
And I'm saying, right, Jai Apataya is fighting for our belt. Just want to understand, this is the sanction request. This is the contract that you have to sign as the promoter. We will be there with our belt, you know.
Short bus vibes for real. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. I'm probably a whole lot smarter than you, and let's not get started. You are a no-name, no-face individual I don't even know what to say to you. You're a nobody. You don't even have a profile pic. You don't got nothing going on in your YouTube. You ain't got nothing going on in your life. I don't understand what you mean by short bus vibes. I'm oh my god, man. Like, do you realize I'm smarter than you? You realize that I'm superior than you in every way. DR, whatever your name is. Your screen name looks like you just basically put a whole bunch of letters together that didn't make sense and say, all right, you know what? I'm going to create this account so I can go troll this guy. He said, who said that? I don't know. This DR dude, whatever, that's in the chat. He says, Dana's model is built on stars that doesn't have enough power to argue with him. Dana doesn't want another Connor. Worldwide says hi. He says, who said that? And then Worldwide says, who said that? Yeah, he says, I've been a long time viewer. I got a request. Okay. Well, thank you for your support. I hope that your request is not anything outrageous or anything gay or anything, out of the ordinary. So let's have it. But yes, I agree with Fresh Melon Juice on that one, right? Dana White wants a model where nobody is bigger than the program. There's this term in the gang world. No one is bigger than the program. That's the term, right? What exactly does that mean? Well, your organization, right? And I know I'm using gang terms to sort of convey this analogy, but follow me on this, right? Your organization is the face, not the person, not the individual. So in other words, if you snitch or if you do something that is of transgressions towards your compatriots, you're going to get shunned, you're going to be isolated from the group, you're going to possibly face a punishment because nobody is bigger than the program. What's an example of this? Muhammad Makayev, winning record, gets kicked out of the UFC. Fakrdinov, winning record, gets kicked out of the UFC. Artem Lobov gets into it with Khabib at UFC 223 in Brooklyn. He gets kicked out because nobody is bigger than the program. That is, of course, except for Conor. Conor did something so horrible that borderlines a terrorist attack when he threw that dolly in the bus. And how exactly, he says, you need an even shorter bus. All right, listen, you're out of here. How about this? You can go to the Shadow Realm. Boom, you're up out of here. Okay? And then here's another one. Boom, you're up out of here. Bye-bye, that's it. I don't need none of you in here. I don't need none of your negativity. I don't need your stupidity. Let's be honest about this, right? You guys are bums. You don't even have $5,000 in your bank account. This is the reason why you come in here and you talk smack, because you want to feel better about yourself. Let's be honest about this, right? A lot of you in America right now are broke. A lot of you don't have a lot of money. A lot of you are struggling for bills. And then on top of that, you need to understand that these people are just going out there trying to feel better about themselves. So then they go and try to trash someone so that they can say to their girlfriends, hey, look, I made this guy, Kyrie, really angry right now, right? So praise me. And then she's going to look at you like you're a complete loser. He says, WSG, bro. Oh, okay, what's going on, bro? Rory, shout outs to Rory. Are you Rory? Are you a Rory that I know in real life? Let me know. Hate Love says, Fresh, you are a funny troll. I have 4,999 in my bank account. Okay, well, there you go. You got something in your bank account. A lot of you are running around with your brakes squeaking in your cars. You got your engine lights on. You got your tire lights on. You need new tires. You need new engines. You need new windows that your window got busted from your baby mama. And now you want to come in here and talk smack, bro? That's insane to me. He says, Rory says, yeah. Are you Rory from the UK or Rory A buddy of mine that I train with, let me know which Rory you are. I know a lot of Rorys. I don't know if I know you in real life or not, but that's the point of the matter, is that I don't know none of you in real life. None of you phase me in anything that you say. The truth of the matter is I live a better life than most of you, and as a result of that, you hate on me for it. Let's be honest about this. If you've been watching my stream for a long time, I think you'll realize that, you know, I live a pretty good life, you know, compared to most people. He says, I used to train with you, bro, miss you. Okay, well, I don't know which Rory you are, but okay, shout out to you anyways. Fresh Melon Juice says Rory McDonald. Yeah, I don't think it's that Rory. But yeah, man, that's the reality of the UFC. They don't want anyone to be bigger than the program, and that's just what it really comes down to. He says you used to oil check all the guys. I mean, yeah, there you go. Once again, with another gay innuendos that you guys like to talk about. Here's the thing, right? If I was really gay, none of you would really say that, because the reality is you would be canceled, and a lot of you are liberal little cuck boys that feel like you can just say any random thing, but in reality, you're just an idiot. But anyways.
Because we went through this process before. Do you remember with PBC? When they started, we don't want any belts. We don't want any belts. And they stopped the governing bodies from getting in the ring. So let's just let it unfold now. Let's just be honest. So, because when you ask Dana White in the interviews, he goes, we're having governing body, we're going to have a championship, but they don't really, ultimately, they don't want the governing bodies. So they should just let it out now.
Okay, that is true. They don't want the governing bodies, right? And the reason for that is because Dana White figured something out that a lot of people haven't figured out yet, right? Well, at least I think a lot of people have figured it out, but in a weird way. He figured out that the belts are not really that useful. That in boxing, it is the names that are more important than the actual belts and titles. But here's the thing. If you grew up boxing, the WBC belt, the IBF, the WBO, the WBA, all these belts, these are the belts that you grew up dreaming about, wishing to win one day. That's really what it comes down to. Rory says, still got time to get a new barber dog. I don't understand what you mean by that, but anyways, Fresh, long time, I've been away, nice seeing you. All right, so we got some people in the chats, you know, just saying what's up to everybody. Man, that's great, man. I love that I built a community of people here, man. You know, and by the way, hey, Love, thank you for the 5 months membership for the members only portion of this content.
To get to United.
But, you know, or they should embrace them.
Where would that leave kind of Jai's relationship with ZUFFA and Tasman fighters? Because Tasman was saying that they've signed to ZUFFA to become undisputed as well.
It's all a load of bollocks. I mean, you know, you get made offers that are just full of shit. So, yeah, you sit down, yeah, Jai, yeah, what we're going to do is, yeah, we're going to, you know, yeah, you can keep your belt, and yeah, but they don't tell you how you can keep your belt. So you can keep your belt, but we won't let the IBF in the ring. We won't give them any respect. We won't let them, you know, all these different things. And then therefore, the IBF could turn around and go, well, we're not having the belt on the line. That's a pivotal.
So Eddie Hearn is right about that. That is a pivotal moment for the IBF, right? The WBC has experienced something very similar to this. Mauricio Suleiman did an interview with Ariel Helwani, and he said to him, you know what? We're not going to give you your hotel rooms. We're not going to let you in the ring. And we're not going to let you in ringside. And then Mauricio Suleiman, the president of the WBC, argued and said, look, we're not there for fun. We're there to work. We're there to accommodate for our fighters, the people that are ranked in their WBC ranking system. And they got thrown out. They literally got thrown out of the Terrence Crawford and Canelo fight. I need you to put that in perspective, okay? He says, Ninja, you don't know who you're talking to. He says, Rory, from your earlier comments, I can't believe a word that you say. He says, again, you know, Rory is just a troll. Look, Rory, Let me tell you something, bro. You don't know me, okay? You're pretending to know me. I created literally a scenario where, you know what? I may know somebody named Rory, and you fell for it. You fell for it because you agreed that you know me in real life when you really don't. You're an idiot, bro. And once again, there's a reason why you don't have a profile pic. You notice the only people that talk smack are the ones that don't have a profile pic or don't have anything going on in YouTube. Because here's the thing, if you were a YouTuber and you had something going on, I would absolutely diss you. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, the majority of you are introverts. The majority of you don't like confrontation. The majority of you are scared to get up on the podium and speak publicly. A lot of you have fears of public speaking because a lot of you are cowards. A lot of you don't have the guts to get up and talk to people, nor do you have the style, the jazz and pizzazz to do any of that. What you have going on is just a lot of hate in your heart, a lot of resentment, and you don't have $5,000 in your bank account. Okay, imagine that. How much does your life suck that you don't got $5,000 in your bank account? You ain't got $5,000 in your bank account. You can't do anything with your life. You hate your life, you hate your job, and so then here's Chronic Triggers. He says, you're so brave to get on camera for 8 people. Okay, do you realize that this accumulates over time? There's only 8 people in here right now, but later on, let's take a look at the analytics. Let's see how many views I've had so far. Well, so far there's been 100 people in here. So I don't know what you're talking about. He says, damn, why are you attacking me, bro? Just joined. I didn't attack you, Tapatio. I didn't even see any of your comments here. Or are you basically, you know, saying that I attacked you because I said that the majority of you don't have $5,000 in your bank account? If you're one of those people, then, you know, hey, I don't know what to tell you, man. You know, your life is going to be a lot harder than the person who does have at least $5,000 in your bank account. He says, I just joined, but the mods ruined the channels for me for the reason I am out. What do you mean? What did the mods do, Tapatio? You haven't explained to me. He says, I'll be gone anyway. This chat's dead. Don't feel like you're doing anything special, 007. Okay, well, you're the one that came in here and decided to say what you say. Chronic Triggers. Let's see who Chronic Triggers is, okay? So once again, it's another anonymous person with 1 subscriber, doesn't have any videos. There you go. He says, Kyrie, they are just trolling you. No one timed out Tapa. Okay. Brad Pitbull says, this chat rocks. I agree. I think we have some of the most interesting chats in this channel, and hopefully we can continue to have that. And listen, I don't mind the trolls. You know what? Here's the thing. You guys are actually helping my engagement, so keep at it. He says, yeah, you not doing anything. Well, you're not doing anything. Your channel is not doing anything. You don't have a presence at all. You're not even a real person to me, okay? Chronic Triggers, Rory, none of you are real people to me. He says your max viewers are like 35. So in less than 23 minutes, this is how many people have been here so far. Stupid, okay? In the last 60 minutes, so in 23 minutes into the stream, I'd like to see you get online right now, get on the live, okay? Hit the live button on your channel. Let me see how many people you could get on there. Brad Pitbull says some of the most interesting people are in this chat. There you go. That's right, man. We do have a lot of interesting people in this chat. He says, bro is just coping. Coping with what exactly? What exactly are you saying that I'm coping about? You're saying that there's only 5 people in here. I just showed you in real time how many people have been in here, and you're telling me that, man, you don't know what you're saying. You just want to say something to feel better about yourself. How you get rage bait that easily? Because here's the thing, right? A lot of you have never been confronted in this particular way. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people that you've trolled over the years, whether they're real famous streamers or upcoming streamers or people that are somewhere in the middle, they never wanted to engage with you for the same reason that I just described. You don't have a profile. You don't have anything going on. You don't got your life together. You don't have $5,000 in your bank account. Okay, imagine this. Every time that I say you don't have $5,000 in your bank account, notice how the trolling goes down. Okay, the trolling goes down because the reality is that you guys are looking at this and saying to yourselves, wow, you know what? He's right, man. I don't have $5,000 in my bank account. There's the check engine light on my car. Your brakes are squeaking. So that's about $800 that you need that you don't have. You're struggling for bills. You live in a crappy, apartment. You live in, a hellhole of a place. That's what you got going on. He says, you're right, I got more. Okay, this is coming from a person who doesn't have a profile. Like, look, you guys need to understand, if you don't have a profile pic, you don't matter. You don't freaking matter if you don't have a profile pic. If you don't have a channel, if you don't got anything going on, you don't matter. Okay, like nothing you say matters. And here's the thing. I really could care less if you're actually really popping it or cracking it in real life, if you're really living, la vida loca or living it up. That's none of my concern. But what I know is that it is more than likely plausible due to the generalization of America's current climate that a lot of you are broke. That's it. You don't have $5,000 in your bank account. You don't have anything going on. He says, gang, you look like an off-brand Khabib. Great. That's great for me. You know what I mean? Like you're saying that I look like an off-brand Khabib. I look like a Khabib that speaks proper English. That says a lot about me than you, right? I'm going to have a presence online that you never will have. Rory, I'm going to keep your profile name and pic on the data just so I can see one day you getting on live, which you won't because you're a coward. A lot of you are cowards. He says, I was trying to make a point, hate love. I never heard a religious man love money more than Kyrie. No, bro, listen, it has nothing to do with money. Look, if I was this cash money, juvenile, Birdman, type of guy, right? These cash money rappers or whatever, don't you think I would be wearing chains? Don't you think that I would be driving around in foreign whips and then showing you guys or this and that? I don't do any of that. I live a very simple life, and within that simple life, I live within my means. This is why I'm not broke. This is why I still live a much more comfortable life than most of you, because I've made the right decisions. And here's one decision that a lot of you have not made, is that you don't have $5,000 in your bank account. For crying out loud, and you're over here talking trash online to feel better about yourself when you don't even have $5,000 in your bank account. You got your check engine lights on. You got your tires that are like blowing out. You need $800 to repair your car. You don't got anything going on. Your bills are piling up. Your debt is right up here. And then you decide to come in here and talk smack to a guy that doesn't have the same problems as you. He says, yeah, I am a coward because I have chemo. I don't really care what you got going on, man. You know what I mean? Like, once again, it's sad for people that are going through that. Shout out to the people that are going through something real. But, yo, my dude, you are not real. He says, Rory, you are a liar. We can't believe a word you say. Yeah, you're the same Rory who trained with Kyrie. Exactly, man. Exactly. I set you up, bro. Do you not realize that earlier on in the stream, I pretended to know a Rory? I mean, I know a lot of Rorys, right? But no one specifically that I had in mind that I actually trained with, right? The only Rory that I had in mind was Rory McDonald, and then that's definitely not you. So there it is. He says, who is you, bro? Who is you, bro? I'm trying to argue. Who is you with bad grammar in your English? There you go. Once again, another proof of why you're a low frequency idiot. He says, what is the point of your streams? I don't need to justify to you what the point of my streams are. You need to ask yourself, what is the point of you who doesn't have $5,000 in their bank account, who claims to have chemo, who claims to have all of these problems, coming in here, dumping all of your mess to me. And that's just really what it comes down to. All right, let's get back to Eddie Hearn.
That moment right there is where it goes like that immediately. At the moment, it's just how long before it goes like that.
And by the way, Fresh, listen to me, bro. You constantly go at me with this whole thing about, oh, you love money, or you talk about money, or this and that. Well, here's the truth of the matter, man. Here's the truth of the matter. Is it true or not that a lot of people in America don't have $5,000 in their bank account? Okay, now look, I'm not saying that I'm the richest guy ever, but I'm not the brokest either. Okay? A lot of you are broke. A lot of you don't have nothing going on. He says, because it's low-key funny as hell. Okay, well, that's fine. You know, if you're just doing that all for the sake of entertainment, then just say that. There's no quarrel with you on that.
Could make it go like that now. But if I'm ZUFFA and I'm Dana, I'm just getting on with it. Because that's the vision. Do you know what I mean? Is they don't want these other belts. They want their own control. They want to do what they want to do, not what a governing body tells them. And I understand that, but they can't. They're like I know he says that I work for my dad and all this kind of stuff, but they're spoiled because they don't want to compete. Really, they don't. Oh, we're not dealing with the governing bodies. Fuck the governing bodies. We're the governing bodies. But really, we deal with the governing bodies every day, and it's fucking. I understand because it's a pain in the arse.
Fresh says, so Allah or God are the same thing. No, you don't have to erase that, Rory. Let me read what this guy said right here, Fresh Melon Juice. So God has told you to push people who struggle down. Look, bro, if you're struggling, you should be humble. You understand? If you're struggling and you're a bum, you should be humble. That's the matter of fact about this. If you are a bum and you got nothing going on, you should be humble and not say anything. When I was broke and I came to California and I had nothing going on, do you think that I would go online and talk smack to rappers, talk smack to fighters that have it going on, that are world champions, talk smack to streamers? I didn't do none of that. You want to know why? Because I was busy trying to build my life so that I can talk smack to people that need to be talked smack down too. And that's just what it comes down to. He says, we not bros. Yeah, whatever. What an idiot. Another idiot. He says, that actually tough, bro. Thanks. Yeah, once again, your grammar sucks. Okay? Yeah, please. He says, you are a lemon, dude. Okay, I don't even know what that means. You're a lemon. Okay, like I'm supposed to be offended by that. He says, Allah and God are not the same thing. Well, then you're an idiot, Fresh Melon Juice. I'm sorry, but you know what? Here's the thing, bro. You know, a lot of people love you in the chat, and I just don't understand why. Because, you know, you're just like everybody else on this chat. You're anonymous. No one knows you. You want to stay anonymous. You are, and then here's this guy saying that I'm lame. Yeah, but how much lame do you have to be that you have to come in here and say that? Because you want to feel better about yourself. A guy who has a generic profile with a letter A on it, no profile pic because you're a coward. You don't want to show people who you are. He says because you made annoying. I mean, you don't even make sense of what you're saying. Listen, guys, I'm going to say this one more time, right? You got about 5 minutes to redeem yourself or I'm sending you to the shadow realm. You say another thing that I don't like or something that I don't want to hear or something that is not flattery towards me in any kind of way, I'm getting you up out of here, okay? I only want to be flattered. I only want to be talked to in a certain way, and that's it. You're a bum who doesn't have $5,000 in your bank account. I'm going to keep saying that because the more that you understand that, the more that you understand that you have struggles outside of this whole YouTube space. He says, you're mad. Well, you're an idiot for even coming in here trying to troll me to feel better about yourself. You're a bum. Anyways, you're a bum. Get $5,000 in your bank account. He says, yeah, got more than 5. That's what they all say. Says the guy who doesn't have a profile pic. You didn't have to erase that. Let him say that, right? Let him say what he said, saying that, like, I got more than 5. Okay, well, you got more than 5, but yet you're spending it on this glorious morning trying to get at me because you want to feel better about yourself because you really don't have $5,000 in your bank account. And if you really had $5,000 in your bank account, you would have a profile pic, you would have some sort of presence, you would at least have one video of you showing your your vacation spots that you went to. Oh, that's right, you can't afford vacations. No, you're the one that's mad. You're mad because you can't afford vacations, and that's it. He says, check out the Temple of Zeus organizations to find out the truth behind reality. Hail Zeus. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're a pagan, but okay. All right, back to Eddie Hearn. Actually, you know what? Let's get to the Nancy Guthrie situation, right? Let's see what's going on with Nancy Guthrie right now as some updates. Video Gamer says, you must be scared to get into Octagon with me, you Khaled wannabe. I don't know which Khaled it is that I'm trying to be. He says, just got back from Colombia. No one really cares. You're anonymous. You're anonymous. Until you have a profile pic, you saying you have more than $5,000 in your bank account, you saying you went to Colombia absolutely means nothing. So there it is. He says, guys, I'm the one banning you. All of your comments come at me. I mean, look, they're not going to come at you, bro. They want to get at me for, he says, I got 6K. Great. Go do something with that 6K. Once again, you don't have a presence. You're the guy that's coming in here challenging me to a fight. I can't even find a photo or a picture of you anywhere training or fighting. How are we going to fight? He says, so his grammar isn't bad. Well, it is. It is bad. But he's not over here dissing me. And he's not provoking me to find a low-hanging fruit about him to get at. You see, what I'm doing is getting a low-hanging fruit at you, knowing that you don't have $5,000 in your bank account. How do you not have $5,000 in your bank account? Think about that. Imagine what kind of bum you would have to be that you don't have $5,000 in your bank account. This is the majority of you Americans, right? Like, this is really what it is. A lot of Americans are broke right now, and a lot of you think you're the exception to the rule, and you're not. He says, that's not fruit hanging. It's, okay, yeah, well, I guess. He says, hey, love, I got love for you, bro, but this is between me and Ashy. I'm going to need you to stay. Oh, okay, we got some people that are fighting here. This is great. TZ says, now, Ashy, I'm talking directly to you. If you ever disrespect anyone in this live chat again, you will be banned. There it is. Fresh Melon Juice says, imagine using a platform that is super strict on speech, but is not enough for Kyrie Sharia law time. What do you mean by that? Elaborate what you mean by that, Fresh. Imagine using a platform that is super strict on speech. I don't understand what you mean. Like, so do you think that, like, freedom of speech somehow entails having to take verbal abuse from people who are a bunch of nobodies? He says, you won't do nothing, Ash. All right, so we got some fights going on in the chats right now. But let's hear some updates on Nancy Guthrie.
Do not get a consolidation loan until you...
See, there it is, man. And as soon as I'm talking about money, now I have Mario Lopez talking about depths and all this other stuff as a commercial anyways.
Welcome to TMZ Live. The glove that was found in a field that was similar to the glove in the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping.
I don't love any politicians, but all right, let's hear some updates on this Nancy Guthrie thing. He says, I wouldn't want to be in a plane with this guy. Ooh, wow. What? Listen, here's the thing, right? What is the worst stereotype that you have of Muslims? Think about it. What is the worst stereotype for Muslims? You know what that is? The worst stereotype for Muslims is the T word. And is that really a bad thing if you think about it, right? Because that means that you're afraid of me. That means you're afraid of the fact that I could hurt you. He says, you probably lose to my grandma in a fight. I mean, yeah, sure, right? I mean, yeah, right. Do you feel better about yourself now, you loser who don't have $5,000 in your bank account claiming that you were in Colombia? Show me some proof that you were in Colombia. Show me some proof that you got $5,000 in your bank account. He says, well, I'm the double champ, so I can't be beat. Okay, I mean, we got some delusional people here. You saved a couple of dollars, now you think you big mish. You saved a couple of dollars, now you think you're big mish. I assure you, I have way more than just savings or a couple of dollars saved up. I assure you of that, right? Like, do you not understand? Like, look, if you've seen my stream long enough, you know I got a big house. I got a car with leather seats and roof on top. I'm not going to tell you which car I have because I don't want to be identified out there, but I live better than most of you. That's it. End of story. You suck. Your life is in shambles. You don't have $5,000 in your bank account, and you know that, and it bothers you, and that is why he says you got a credit card debt, though. No, I don't. Not at all. Not whatsoever. I don't even use credit cards. That's how much you know nothing about me, nor do you understand any of my financial strategies to any degree. Guys, I'm going to tell you something, right? It's been 10 years, over 10 years, since I've been in the car business. I haven't been in the car business for over 10 years. I still live comfortably off of those times that I've made in the car business. That's called smart decisions. And a lot of you don't make smart decisions. You live paycheck to paycheck. You live from point A to point B day to day and not thinking about your future or anything like that. That's just really what it is. He says, that sounded like you hesitated to say that. Hesitated to say what? I don't have any credit card debts. That's just really what it is. You're just trying to look for any low-hanging fruit once again to feel better about yourself because you have no motion. You don't have $5,000 in your bank account and you're a bum. Ashley says, I own, let me see a title. I own, let me see a title. What title? What do you mean? Like I'm going to show you personal information online? Like what are you, stupid? Okay, listen, I'm done with you, all right? Ban these people right now. I'm done with all of you. Ban all of them. Send them to the Shadow Realm. Ashy, you're sent to the Shadow Realm. Moderators, shooters, shoot them up out of here. Video Gamer, you're up out of here. Rory, you're up out of here. All of you are up out of here right now, okay? All of you are up out of here right now. That's it. He says, you done cut, he know it true. You need an English language grammar lesson. There it is. You're gone. Okay, you're gone. Every single one of you are gone right now. Who else wants to get sent to the Shadow Realm? If you don't say anything that is flattering towards me or any kind of way, I'm getting you up out of here. Boom. You're up out of here. Boom. Out. Out. Anyways.
The results are in, and there is no DNA hit in the CODIS system. The CODIS system is the FBI's file of 57 million people, most of whom have had criminal records, and at least for that, no hit. So a setback, but it's not over because there are other ways that that DNA can be
Get Ashy up out of here. What truth are you talking about? You're up out of here. Sent you to the Shadow Realm. Goodbye. Hey, you know what? Hate Love, I'm going to make you do it. Go send Ashy to the Shadow Realm. He says, Hate Love, my job as a mod is to protect this live. All right, well, TZ, then how about I mod you up then? Okay? There it is. TZ, you are now a moderator. Congratulations, TZ. You are now a moderator. Oh, I guess not. He says what?
Tested using something that many of us have used in the past.
Correct. That we have used in the past. Oh, PCR test.
No. I'm talking about genealogy. That there is a secondary way that authorities have actually used genealogy testing to figure out whose DNA it is.
Right.
And
most of the big companies don't participate in this.
23andMe and Ancestry.com do not participate for privacy reasons. But there are smaller companies that law enforcement has used in the past. And what they can do is, even if they don't get a direct hit, they can get a hit that's very similar of a relative.
So what's crazy about that is people have actually gotten caught using 23andMe, Ancestry.com. I mean, plenty of cases where this happened. He says, hi, are you done, Hate Love? I try to be on your side. You are completely out of control. Says, hi, everyone. Sorry about the chat. Kyrie is trying to get his content out. Keep watching, please. Okay, awesome.
And what they do is they just start fanning out when they find a close hit and figuring out who are the relatives. Is there a relative in the Tucson area? What is the profile like? And they have actually found people this way. So that is a secondary way. They generally do not do that unless CODIS comes up goose eggs.
What is also interesting that when the sheriff released this news about the DNA test results, not only said there was no hit in CODIS, but also didn't say that there was a match because they had said that they had recovered DNA from Nancy's home that doesn't belong to Nancy. And it didn't match that DNA either. Or at least he didn't say it did. Now, obviously, I think they would have said that had they known that.
They would have said that had they known that. The other kind of puzzling thing about this is that we talked to some federal officials who said you can't use the CODIS system unless the glove is tested by an FBI-approved lab in the state where the item was found. And here, the state was Arizona. The sheriff sent it to Florida. And what we were told is the glove went back to Arizona for retesting before it could go in the CODIS system. Maybe this gets a little bit in the weeds, but when the sheriff came out just a few minutes ago...
All right, so I got to be honest, right? Why is it that this is huge news in the world right now? The reason why, let's be honest, it's a white woman, right? It's a white woman who happens to have a very famous daughter, or at least she's famous herself, who's a newscaster, I believe. Hate Love says, sorry, Kyrie, bro, had to, but I'll behave now. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all.
From when we're talking to you and said there was no DNA hit, he just mentioned the Florida lab. Never said anything about Arizona
coming back to Arizona,
which is puzzling to me.
Right.
So,
A little in the weeds because the DNA testing, the bottom line is there's nothing in CODIS, but now we have to wait for this next wave of testing to see if there's a match in this genealogy. Genealogy match.
Other thing.
So they have a picture of a guy that walked through her front door, mask, gloves, and everything. Now they're just trying to find DNA through these gloves, and that is the update on that particular matter when it comes to at least one person that they saw and one person that they had, I guess, identified through a mask in the Ring camera.
We were told about the glove, and then we're going to move on to something else, is that you've seen a picture, I'm sure, of the glove that a New York Post photographer captured. It is not that...
He says, it's Ramadan, need to be peaceful. You know what? You're right, Ali Khan, right? A lot of this is just people testing the waters, right? You know, I mean, because look, they're kuffar, you know what I mean? That's what they do. They test the waters. They don't live for anything. They don't have any stronger purpose. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Our purpose as Muslims is much higher in terms of being tested by Allah. And not only that, also the defenders of truth and justice in the world.
That glove.
He says, Ali, yes, I agree. I'm so sorry for my actions. I was just trying to tone down the silly chat. Yeah, not a problem at all, man. You're doing your job correctly. Hate Love, man. Shout out to you, man.
That was tested. We're told it was...
Fresh Melon Juice says, individual iftar plates can easily be 3 times a normal meal in a volume or calories, so the fasting is not really working. Who are you talking about specifically? Right? Because are you making a generalization based on, you know, a few people that you've seen fast for Ramadan and having an iftar meal size that is 3 times what they... I mean, think about what you're saying, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But anyways, you know, sometimes, Fresh, you remind me of why you're just like the rest of them, right? The only difference is that you're... you know, you're a lot more intelligent than some of them, right? Just based on the things that you say. But, you know, but once again, you're an anonymous guy. You know what I mean? You say what you want to say so that you can feel comfortable saying it. And that's just really what it is. Paul says, Paul is Jesus, apostolic church. Jesus is, okay, is very important place to be. Okay, yeah, I don't even understand what you're saying. Like, you need to... you need to improve your grammar there. Ali Khan says 1 date, some fruits, then gym, and then dinner afterwards. Yeah, there you go. I like that. I like that. That's actually a good concept. You know, I train sometimes while fasting. And I've done that over the years, right? On streams, actually, I've done a few training sessions in here. So while fasting for Ramadan, mind you.
It's a different glove about 2 miles from Nancy's house, not that glove. So right now, that is a dead end, but that doesn't mean that there's no hope in...
Yeah, it's all right. Let them spam. It actually helps the algorithm.
Using genealogy.
Still hope there. And there's something else that the FBI is doing that could lead to the person who showed up on Nancy's doorstep. And it all has to do with that video that the FBI released and the gun that was on that man's waistband and that holster in particular. Remember, we thought it was weird, the positioning, but also the holster itself.
Right here. Take a look at this, where the holster is at. I mean, it looks kind of weird. It looks like he's grabbing something that is highly inappropriate, but yeah.
Wasn't made for the type of gun that this guy is carrying.
Semi-automatic handgun.
Because it was unique, that's what the FBI locked in on.
So with the FBI, we're told that authorities have actually found around 40 people. News Nation first reported that gun stores were given a list of about 40 people. We're told that list is from people who bought that type of holster. It's kind of a unique holster.
Right, and Tucson, and the FBI basically found in the Tucson area that 40 people who had purchased that particular holster.
So what they're doing is
So they found 40 people that had purchased this holster right here. That's where they're going to start this investigation off right here. They're going to look at the 40 people who bought this holster. Some people are going to say, well, I bought it for a relative. Some people say I had nothing to do with this. I bought it for my own personal gun. Some people bought it for a spouse. Some people bought it for their son. There's going to be all sorts of process of elimination that they're going to go through in this gauntlet of investigations.
they're now contacting gun stores. It's kind of a smart move to find out, did anybody buy that type of gun? And if there's somebody among those 40 who have both the holster and the gun.
Notice how we're talking about Nancy Guthrie, and then we're talking about Eddie Hearn going at it with Dana White, and nobody seems to really talk about that in the chat. They just want to concentrate on the negative aspects of what we're talking about, which is trashing me. But that's all right. Whatever floats your boat, whatever brings people in here, I'm all for it.
It's going to pique the FBI's interest.
Right.
So that's just another line that they are going...
Which is similar to what we had talked about with the backpack and the jacket, that we knew that authorities would be locked in on that. Once they could find out where those things are carried, then they would check with those stores in the Tucson area.
Right.
And we presume that is still happening with the backpack.
You know, that's a very dumb request, Pat the Goat. I mean, what is the point of all that? What is the point of that? There's no point.
Which we know came from a Walmart. Thing is, there are...
And so did the jacket.
Right. That there are a lot of, 15 Walmarts in the Tucson area? So,
all right, so far, there's 15 Walmarts in the Tucson area. They found that there's 40 people who have purchased this holster. But what if that holster wasn't bought in that area? And they said that it is rather special, that it only is available in Walmarts in Arizona. So they're creating a process of elimination here. It'll be really interesting to see where this goes, right? Because obviously there's a reason why many people are highly interested in this case.
I thought it was...
the number we were looking at
Alexa,
ourselves?
how many? I thought there were nine.
Nine.
There are 9. Okay, so 9 Walmarts, still a lot.
Yeah.
So there are 2 ways of going here. One is if they could find a gun that was purchased by the same person who, that type of gun, by the same...
Yeah, I got you on that, Hate Love. He says, Kyrie, he is trying to say this is a pre-recorded or it's trolls do this a lot in another channel I'm on. Okay.
Person who purchased the holster. But the other thing is, if you find somebody who purchased that holster, also a similar backpack and a similar jacket,
Now you've got the perfect storm.
so there are all sorts of ways. The way this was put to me today is that authorities are doing gumshoe detective work. That's the way it was put, gumshoe detective work. That they are just doing everything they can. They're following all sorts of leads.
Gumshoe detective work. Let's look up what that means. What does that word mean? Gumshoe detective. So gumshoe is a 20th century slang term for detective or private investigator, originating around 1906 from a quiet gum rubber soled shoes worn to sneak around while following subjects. These private eyes typically handle investigations with discretion, often associated with the noir genre, such as fictional characters Dick Gumshoe. Okay, so the origin of it, the term derives gumshoe, rubber-soled shoes worn by investigators in the late 19th to 20th century to move quietly. Definition of gumshoe is a slang, often old-fashioned term for private investigator, detective, or someone who shadows a person. Modern usage, while often associated with classic detective fiction, the term is still used for modern private investigation firms such as Gumshoe Detective Agency in California. Okay, so yeah, that's good to know, gumshoe. Yeah, I was trying to understand what the origin of that particular name is. Now we know. Okay, so moving on.
Hoping that something will bear fruit. But it's not like they've got one hot lead that they're finding, because my understanding from various conversations is there just isn't. There still isn't. So there's this kind of gumshoe report
They've got
investigating.
thousands of leads. In fact, I think the sheriff said tens of thousands of leads that they've got to comb through, and they got to figure out which ones are worth sending people.
So the reason why I can see why this is popular, right? Think about this, right? The woman and their family are affiliated with people who are in the media, okay? So if you understand and know the media, you know how to manipulate the media, right? So they wanted to have an expeditious investigation going on with this because it's a timely matter. We don't know if this woman is dead or alive. We don't know if she's still a hostage. We don't know if she is in Mexico or in other parts of the world that she has been taken to, or maybe still in the United States. So there's a lot going on, right? So what does the family do, being that they are experts in media? They decided they were going to campaign, create a PR out of this whole entire situation, talk to news outlets, talk to TMZ, talk to podcasters and bloggers and things of that nature, and get this story out there so that they can push the issue of creating an expeditious investigation because of the timely matter that is dealing with this situation. So
People out to go check, or which ones?
says, hate, love, chat. I hope you are all enjoying the content. Kyrie puts a lot of effort into his work and gives us really good outlook on topics he talks about. Thank you, hate, love. Shout out to you, my man.
You can just throw out the window, but they got to go through all of that.
Again,
This is why I'm not really fazed by people who are haters. And I'll tell you, right, for those of you that are aspiring to be YouTubers or streamers, understand this, right? There's people that are going to love you and there's people that are going to hate you. I don't need to concentrate on the people that hate me unless, of course, it's a form of entertainment, unless, of course, I think I could create good content out of it. And that's more than likely why I'm engaging with a lot of idiots, is because you guys are just content. Now, for those of you that support the show, that support the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, throw some super chats along the way, and let's get this thing cracking.
this ransom note that we got, we know that they are the FBI is keenly interested.
So they have a ransom note out of this. Let's hear what this is about the ransom note.
In this ransom note. So they obviously continue on that front. Now, we told you yesterday about a fourth letter we received from this man who says he knows the identity of the kidnapper and the location of Nancy Guthrie and is willing to give that up for the $100,000 reward. He has sent us 4 emails, and we have forwarded them on to the FBI.
So obviously there are some people that are claiming. Now look, this is what you have to be very careful about, right? There's a lot of people that are going to be claiming a whole bunch of stuff, right? Is this true? Is it true that this person, this random person who's sending TMZ letters and emails, that he knows where Guthrie is? It reminds me of many people in the chat here, which is what a lot of you are, right? You're just anonymous people. You come in here, you talk your smack, and then you go on about your day like nothing happened.
We have made a decision not to publicize any more emails this guy sends. And there's
Less sends.
Even if he sends that. See, here's the problem. If he sends us that information, we're not going to say, hey, the kidnapper's at this address.
Right, as far as publicizing, right. No,
We're going to give it to the FBI.
It's going to go to the FBI.
But the problem is
what you offered yesterday.
Right, but the problem is, if he sends us other notes, and we say, he sent us another note, and he's not going to pay. He sent us another note, and he's not going to pay. He sent us another note, and we're not going to tell you what's in it. Suddenly, that's telegraphing he finally gave it up.
Right.
It gives the kidnapper a tip.
Right.
Get the hell out of where he is. We're not going to do that. So we're just not going to publicize anything about this guy until we get that information.
I think that's good, right? Just like all of you. I'm not going to entertain any of you any further, nor am I going to look into you any further than what I see with a no-profile pic or a no-name and a random idiot that just wants to say whatever he wants to say to feel better about himself.
If we get it, we are not going to tell you. We're going to send it to the FBI, and then when it's appropriate, we will say that guy helped lead to that, and that creates a public record. So if that guy is watching us right now, you should know that public record will probably lead to you getting the reward if you come forward with that information. You don't trust the FBI. You've made that clear in the emails. So tell us, and we'll forward it, and there's a public record, and then you will get your money.
So here's what's interesting about this, right? This person that is claiming all of this, he's saying that he doesn't trust the FBI, right? I understand that. I get that. There's a lot of reasons to not trust the FBI, right? Especially if you're a Muslim, especially if you are a gang member, especially if you are a person that lives that life. There's plenty of reasons not to trust them, because the game is for you to get away, right? If you live that life or you're about that life, the game is for you to get away, and the game is for them to catch you, right? There's nothing personal about that. There's no hatred or animosity about that. That's just what it is. But here's the thing. We're talking about an innocent woman, right? Somebody who doesn't deserve this, although I don't know what she did. I would just assume she doesn't deserve this. I mean, you know, this is an old white woman. I don't know how much of a threat she can be, unless, of course, she did something so horrible that sort of constitutes, let's say, affecting someone's employment, right? Maybe she fired someone and then they, you know, went into shambles, like many of you in the chat who love to talk smack, right? A lot of you are in shambles. A lot of you are broke. A lot of you are unemployed, right? Because of one reason or another. But maybe that's why, right? But either way, why would you not trust the FBI if you know that they are trying to find this person? Unless, of course, this person is afraid that the FBI will tie them into some sort of involvement, because that's always a possibility, right? That's always a possibility that you can be indicted at any time, right? Without you even understanding or knowing why. For example, let's say a homie of yours, right, asks you to give them a ride. You know, they said, okay, you know what, I'm going to the bank. I'm just going to go and make a deposit or oh, wait, a withdrawal or a deposit, whatever it is that they claim they're going to do in the bank that day. And then they go and actually rob the bank, and you're the getaway driver and you don't even realize it. Right? You could be held accessory to that crime. Oh, well, I didn't know that he was robbing a bank. I mean, that's what they all say, but there are cases where that is true. So in that regard, I can understand what he means when he says he doesn't trust the FBI fully.
Money, presumably.
Hi, I'm John in Washington, D.C. Two quick thoughts on this. First of all, how insane that the cops were able to find a glove 2 miles away. That fact blows my mind in terms of being so impressed with law enforcement. The second thing is on the genealogy. One thing police have done in the past, which is not ethical, but it's interesting. You sign up for an ancestry account anyway, and you use the DNA and you pretend that you're the person looking for relatives. Now, I'm not suggesting they do it. I don't know what the law is with regards to that, but I do use Ancestry and MyHeritage and others for my own genealogy. You get hundreds of relatives that they find for you, and as you said earlier, you start to locate where those matches are. There's certain cities where 100 of those people pop in, and suddenly you start to narrow this geographically. It's scary on a privacy level, but it's also kind of fascinating on a personal level that somebody could possibly be held this way.
Yeah, we are told that there are privacy laws regarding how the feds can use.
Right. I would imagine if they did what you were suggesting, and then they actually...
I'll tell you something, right? I understand all of that. There's a lot of bureaucratic process that they have to deal with when it comes to law enforcement. And sometimes they override that, right? They just bypass that all in the name of trying to keep everyone safe. Okay, that's always a possibility.
find someone, that would be a problem in court.
Yes, and they need the cooperation of these companies. So posing that way would probably violate the privacy laws. But Ancestry, 23andMe, the big ones, they are not playing ball with them. So that's kind of where we are right now, and where we are today is kind of where we've been over the last few days.
All right, so that right there is basically the reality of Nancy Guthrie right now. That is the update that they have. That is the most that they have going on right now, and we'll see where this goes, right? So the next story that we have going on is Mark Zuckerberg. He is in trial for allegedly making teens addicted to Facebook. Let's hear what the news has to say about this, right? So, okay, CBS News.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is in a Los Angeles courtroom right now defending his...
Okay, so Mark is in LA, okay.
...social media company against allegations that it's designed its apps to be addictive and harmful to children. Zuckerberg is taking the stand as part of a landmark trial.
Shout out to you, Jimmy Smith. Let me know what part of the world you are from, my man. I don't think this is the Jimmy Smith that I'm thinking of, but yeah, okay.
Against Meta and YouTube. TikTok and Snapchat were originally part of that lawsuit, but they settled before this trial started. Now, the outcome of the trial could shape how thousands of similar cases play out. CBS News correspondent Carter Evans joins us live outside that courthouse. Carter, good to see you again today. This is the first time Zuckerberg is defending his company in front of a jury. So what have we heard so far in court?
Right, well, he's inside that courtroom testifying right now. The first part of the day, the plaintiff's attorney spent a lot of time focusing on age restrictions on Instagram. No children under 13 are allowed to join Instagram,
Yeah, I agree with that, right? It does nothing but damage kids, and then on top of that, I just don't think they have the proper capacity to deal with the type of content that is out there, right? Especially not for minors.
As you know, a lot of kids are able to get around that. This is important because the plaintiff in the case here, who is 20 years old, who claims that her mental health was harmed by using social media, she got on Instagram when she was 9 years old. And at one point, Zuckerberg...
Jimmy Smith says, yo, I'm from Manchester. So let me ask you, Jimmy, are you a Manchester City guy or a Manchester United guy? I'm a Manchester City guy, actually, right? I'm a big supporter of Manchester City. Let me know if you are also a Manchester City supporter. I hope maybe you're a Manchester City United, or maybe you just don't care for football at all. He says, Kyrie, no, it's not that, Jimmy. This guy is my friend. He lives in Manchester, but he's a good dude. Okay, shout outs to you, man. All right, so that's awesome. So we got some, some of the moderators, real homies in there. So Jim, please subscribe and turn on your notifications. All right, thank you for that, my man.
Seemed a little frustrated with the line of questioning. He said, I don't understand why this is so complicated. We're not perfect. We have been consistent and clear with this over time. We remove them if we find them, referring to kids.
Oh, wow. You're an Arsenal fan, and you live in the great north of Manchester. That's crazy, man. You must get a lot of stick for that, right? I mean, for a northern English guy to be a fan of a southern team in London, that's huge. And that's probably annoying for you because you probably get a lot of stick for that.
But then they pulled out some internal documents.
Although Arsenal is doing pretty good this year, right? We're doing good too, obviously. But, Manchester City does good in every season. It just is a matter of whether they win the Premier League or not, right? Or other titles in Europe and elsewhere in other leagues that they compete in.
Documents that showed the previous strategic goal and focus was total time spent on the platform by teens. And so this presentation that they just...
So, of course, that is their whole entire plan, is to make sure that you are severely addicted to this whole entire content, right? That's sort of the plan. They want you to be addicted to this content because that is how you generate views. That is how you generate sponsorships. That is how you generate ads.
Displayed as evidence, said the goal was to increase U.S. teen time spent. Summary, big bets, this is back in 2017. The fifth item was under 13-year-olds. So what the plaintiff's attorney is trying to suggest here is that not only did Zuckerberg know that kids were on the platform under 13, but that perhaps he was looking for a way to capitalize on that. Now, Zuckerberg did say earlier on...
Wow. Now, that sounds very exploitive, but if you think about it, social media is dominated by youth. Jimmy says, there are only 5 of us who support Arsenal and get a lot of BS for it, I would imagine. Hate is also a huge Arsenal fan, so I let him deal with all the BS. Dang, okay, I didn't know Hate Love was an Arsenal fan, but okay. Jim, nah, bro, Toy can't say that. Toy can't say that? Or are you saying you can't say that? Maybe a typo. He says, what's up, what's? Okay, King Goo the Goat. Shout out to King Goo the Goat, man.
On in the company, we did have these goals, and I decided we didn't want to focus on time, but focus on utility and value instead. I have a basic assumption that if people find something useful and valuable, they'll use it more.
King Goo. Oh, wow, you live in West Sac? Wow, okay. James Groner says, what the F, what the F? Yeah, I don't know what that is in reference to. Maybe that's in reference to this story with Mark Zuckerberg here.
That's different than a team having a goal to get people to spend more time. It's kind of a, if you build it, they will come argument. But he did point out that they do still keep track of the amount of time that people spend on the app so they can measure those metrics against their competitors. So it's kind of splitting hairs here up on the stand today.
Yeah, certainly seems like it is. Carter,
look, so the name of the game, whether you're a content creator or you are an owner of a social media company, the name of the game is attention. The name of the game is views. The name of the game is long-term engagement, right? Because the longer that you engage, the more ads and the more revenue and the more advertisements that you get. I mean, it's a very simple game, but in reality, it can also be very exploited because guess what? Who are the most susceptible parts of society that are going to be on social media apps? Well, it's probably going to be people that have all the time in the world. Who is that? Mostly children. When you're an adult, by the time you're in your 20s, you're probably in college or already starting a new career. And as a result of that, your whole entire life trajectory is just work, go home, work, and go home. And that's really all there is to it, right? You're maybe social media here and there, but not to the point of the youth, right? That is their target audience. And quite frankly, why would that not be their target audience when that is the most susceptible and the most vulnerable part of society in terms of getting them addicted. There's a reason why they give you credit cards very early on. It's very predatory if you think about it, right? I mean, everything that deals with the youth or marketing to the youth is predatory in nature because they don't have the cerebellum in the frontal lobe of their head to really make these proper decisions long term. He says, yeah, I meant Jim can't say that. Now everyone knows I try to stay neutral online. Okay, you're talking about he says, who is the GOAT of the UFC? Give your opinion. Mosebek asks. Who is the GOAT of the UFC? I mean, John Jones, obviously. You know, I know that John Jones's career was rather controversial at the end. However, time stands the reality of time. Okay? Tom Aspinall, at this point right now, is about to get stripped. He's going to be an afterthought, right? Very similar to TJ Grant. He was this lightweight 155er back in 2011, 2012. He was set to get a title shot against Benson Henderson, who was a champion at the time, and then it never came to fruition. He got an injury and, you know, never came back. Started working as a lumberjack in Canada, and that was that.
We know parents who say they lost their children because...
But John Jones, over time, has proven that he is the greatest, looking at the names, looking at the context of the rankings of who these people were. Not the Shogun Rua that you know right now, the Shogun Rua who was world champion at that time. He says, Jim, bro, I'm not saying that you can't have your choices. I only mean I don't include drug users, so not John Jones. Okay, well... I think you would be remiss to find that a lot of people use drugs in MMA, right? I mean, look, even Khabib and his team are being accused of taking such supplements. And, I mean, look at the results that they put in the cage, right? Are you going to attribute their wins to that the same way that you would for John Jones? The reality is that everyone is using something, right? Now, there are some things that are just more banned than others for whatever reason, maybe because they work, right? But then in that case, at what point do we just ban eggs? Because did you know that if you ate multiple eggs, you can increase your testosterone levels? I eat about maybe 10 eggs a day. If there's not any other food that I'm eating that is, let's say, gourmet food or takeout food such as sushi or, you know, other types of food, I'm just going to have eggs all day, and it gives you nothing but testosterone, right? So you look at the workouts that I do, you know, in my live streams, you know I got a lot of testosterone, all the jumps that I do, all the box jumps, all the heavy lifting, the sled pushes, the one-arm snatches, all of these functional training that increases your testosterone levels. That is all attributed by eggs. So do we ban eggs at some point? So the question is, yeah, you say that John Jones is not the GOAT to you because he's quote-unquote not clean. But the question is, who really is clean in the world of MMA?
Of how harmful social media is. They're also in the courtroom today. What are we hearing from them so far?
So this website that I'm on right now lets you invest into real estate for as little as a few $100s.
A big contingent of parents, and not just here, but around the country, are watching this very closely today. They are concerned about similar issues, what they call the addictive nature of social media and the apps themselves and the algorithms that are behind them. And what they're claiming here is that it's not necessarily the content itself, but that it's the way these apps are designed that makes it addictive to children. That word...
Well, here's the thing, right? That is kind of what you want to do if you have something going on, whether it's content on YouTube or whether you are the owner of a social media site. You want it to be addictive. The problem is it gets in the hands of children, and then that becomes a problem. Now you have all these lawsuits claiming that you've made it addictive for children to deal with. He says, what do you think about all the BJJ sexual assault allegations going on in the community? So here's the thing, right? I'm glad you asked that, King Goo the Goat, right? If you're a guy and you have your girl training in jiu-jitsu, you're a bitch. I'm sorry, you're a bitch. I don't care if you're the toughest fighter in the world. I don't care if you've won fights or you won medals in ADCC and Abu Dhabi, or you are an NCAA you All-American wrestler. You let your girl train jiu-jitsu, you're a bitch. Let me give you an example, okay? In 2011 to 13, I trained with a guy named Matt Brummer. Okay, he was a local fighter out here. He was a former Army Ranger, by the way, right? His girlfriend, or fiance at the time, had an affair with their BJJ instructor and his training partner. Okay, so in other words, a guy that he goes and does jiu-jitsu with. Okay, and let me remind you, Matt Brummer is an absolute stud. Okay, Army Ranger, MMA fighter, right? Was a prospect at the time, right? Won a local regional world championship. So he had everything going for him. And then his bitch goes with the BJJ instructor. Because why? Think about this, right? There's a reason why in Islam we segregate men and women. There's a reason why. And the Western world, especially the Greg Jones types of the world, yeah, look at me, I'm a real man. I let my girl, roll with other dudes because I'm so secure about myself. The reality is that it's inappropriate for a woman to be close to a man, okay, when it's not their husband. That's just the reality of it. So that is a reason why Dagestani women don't train MMA. There's a reason why Khabib doesn't let women fight. Now you understand. So sexual assaults is a different thing, though, because sometimes there's a little bit of some predatory aspects to that, right? There's the power dynamic of the black belt instructor and then the student, right? And then sometimes your promotion is predicated on the feelings of that particular BJJ instructor. Right, so there's a lot of mess that goes on with that. My recommendation, don't let your girl train jiu-jitsu with other guys. If you want her to train, you train her, right? She doesn't need to train with anyone else, or you bring other females to come in here and train with her, and that's just really what it comes down to. Mozebek says, do you believe Ilya Topuria can beat Islam Makhachev? No, not a chance in heck at all. Black belt, who give? What do you mean by that, Mosebek? Are you saying who gives a crap that they're black belts? Is that what you mean? Let me know if that's what you mean. Hate Love says, Muso, I think on a good day with a good win, I support Islam, but can't ignore Ilya's talent. Yeah, I can. I think Islam easily beats Ilya Topuria. And I think that he out-wrestles him. In fact, even chokes him out. That is my humble opinion. Kingu says, it sounds like a lot of them are teenage people that grew up in the sport. There you go. That is the predatory aspect of it, right? Pat Barry is sort of accused of being, like an MMA Epstein, right? But, I don't know, people in their circle say otherwise, right? They say that there's nothing nefarious going on, that, he got with Rose at a legal age, and she just happened to be his trainer and his lover at the same time. So, Muso, yeah, I forgot that, but that's funny. It's Islam's meme, bro. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, black belt, who give? Gotcha. Okay, yeah, gotcha, okay.
Is in dispute. Here's what one of the parents had to say about Zuckerberg's testimony today.
It was a very strong argument that he did not tell the truth in that congressional hearing. It does not match any of the internal documents that we are now seeing.
Wait, hold up.
Hearing, it does.
Mother who lost a 17-year-old daughter. Wow. Okay, and they're blaming all of this on Facebook. I mean, I get it. Yeah, get your money, get your bag. But at the same time, let's be real, right? Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is an easy target for a lawsuit. But in reality, no matter how much money you're going to make out of this and what you get out of Mark Zuckerberg, it doesn't erase the fact that at a certain point you neglected your daughter in order for her to be in this position in the first place. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the reality of it. And listen, it's not like I know these people from a can of paint, so I guess it's easy for me to trash her like that. Like a lot of you in the chat trash me because you're never going to see me, you're never going to be around me, and as a result of that, you feel comfortable saying what you're saying. Just like I feel comfortable saying that this person probably was responsible for the fact that her daughter lost her life because she neglected her in a certain capacity. Not in a full capacity where, like, she starved her or anything like that, but at a capacity where you are not tuned in to her social life, nor did you try and analyze what was going on. But anyways.
Does not match any of the internal documents that we are now seeing, and he's not able to answer those questions now either. And so he's fumbling over them. And we just see that as a sign of, you know, he knew perfectly well what was going on. The intention of the company was to prey on teens, use teens' usage, exploit them so they can make greater profits. And that was done intentionally, not by accident.
Now, what she is talking about is Zuckerberg's prior congressional testimony, and what trial watchers are pointing out here is that congressional testimony is different from court testimony. That's in front of a bunch of elected officials who may or may not do something.
All right, so here's the thing, right? Teen exploitation has been a real thing for a long time, right? Now, look, why is it that they created boy bands in the early 2000s, late 90s? Well, the reason for that is because they wanted to exploit teen girls, right? They see these guys, the Backstreet Boys, the NSYNC, and this and that. They were heartthrobs to young teenage girls. Yet these are fully grown men. If you really think about it, there's a lot of just exploitive aspects of that dynamic. Fresh Melondry says, I would say everything I say here to your face looking down at you. Yeah, I highly doubt that, man. You don't even have the guts to really reveal who you are. You say that you're eating lunch at this time, so my assumption is that you're probably not American. You're probably somewhere in Europe, or you're probably in the East Coast in the late mornings going into the afternoon. So that is why you said earlier that I skipped lunch. So there you go. Hate Love says, Kyrie, bro, I need to get things ready for iftar. I'll definitely see you soon, inshallah. A good day, brother. Okay, enjoy your iftar. I know it is, what time is it? Probably sundown time in the UK right now. Yeah, we started our fasting about 3 hours ago, and ours ends at 5 p.m. So, yeah, not bad. Not a bad, not a bad fasting hours, right? I know it's longer in other places because the sun up and sundown is longer in other places than it is in other places. So here it's only like 11 hours, right? 11 hours of fasting, very easy. Black Excellence says, you need Jesus, not Isa. Yeah, look, that's a dumb comment to make, right? And then your name is Black Excellence. That just really tells me a lot about you, right? You're one of these racially charged weirdos who gets offended by, anything that, criticizes a certain group of people, in particular, your people. And yeah, I mean, look, a name like that, Black Excellence, get the hell out of here. Black Excellence. You know what I mean? You probably got a low credit score. You probably have, you probably got your fire alarm firing off because you don't know how to change your batteries in your fire alarm. But anyways, yeah, does Ramadan start today? It started yesterday, my man. He says 3 plates, don't forget. Okay, sure.
With the information they receive, they may or may not follow up on any perceived bad information. This is a court of law, and there are penalties and repercussions for what is said on the stand.
Yeah, we'll see how this all plays out. Cora Evans, thank you so much for your reporting. Now let's bring in Jacob Ward, a technology journalist and host of the RIP Current podcast. Jacob, thank you so much for your time today. I want to start with what stood out to you so far from what we've heard, and also you have additional reporting about Zuckerberg's entourage wearing Meta glasses in that courtroom.
Yeah, maybe we should start with that, Mugo. It's an extraordinary...
Wait, hold up. He was wearing Meta glasses? That's insane. He says, that guy's comment wasn't as dumb as it appears. In fact, one could say it was a nuanced statement. Huh. What is that in reference to? Seriously, what is that in reference to? Let me know. Look, the reason why Black Excellence is an idiot, he's saying, you know, believe in Jesus, not Isa. That's a dumb statement to say. That's like saying, yeah, you're not my friend, you're my amigo. Right? So you're basically saying the same thing, but in a different language. It's dumb, you know, but, you know, with a name like Black Excellence, that's, you know, that just explains everything. You know what I mean? You're one of these people that thinks, you know, because you were born into a race that you're better than everybody else, or that you think you have some sort of magical powers that nobody else has. And then you're one of these people that probably gatekeeps, oh, you're talking about hip-hop. You shouldn't be talking about hip-hop because it's not your culture. Most people that say that call other people culture vultures, are usually bums that just can't make content for that particular genre, so they go and smash on somebody that is actually doing something great in that content. Now look, like Adam 22, they call Adam 22 all types of things. Now look, do I agree with Adam 22's lifestyle or the way that he tries to set people up to snitch or this and that? No, I don't. But here's the reality of the situation. Okay, here's the reality of Adam 22. He works harder than everybody. He has better content in terms of hip-hop. So regardless if you want to call him a culture vulture, it really doesn't matter because he's doing things more for the culture than you are, right? So that's really what it is. Anyways, yeah, dumb name, dumb person, and dumb take. That's it. He says, I lived with some Moroccans in college and tried doing 3 days of Ramadan with them, and it was no fun. Kudos to you guys, and God bless. Yeah, man, we got like 30 days of this, 29 now. It says, the person you just blocked, and no, it's not dumb, as Christians we're taught you don't have the real Jesus Christ, who is God. Yeah, Jesus is not God. That's another thing too, right? You know, there's a lot of reports that are saying that Jesus wasn't even crucified, and these are non-Muslim historians that are affirming this. So if non-Muslim historians are affirming this, guess what the Quran says? The Quran says that Jesus was never crucified, that it was a person that looked like him. And people wonder what happened to Judas. You ever wondered what happened to Judas when he gave up Jesus to the Romans? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Everyone that you're worshiping, okay, on the cross, you're worshiping Judas. Okay, because Jesus didn't die for anyone. He rose to the heavens only to come back in the end times to fight certain people, if you know what I mean. But yes, he said, okay, so he says, seriously, calling him a prophet only would qualify as such, so I understand what he is getting at. God bless. Okay, that's a very reasonable argument right there. See, there you go. Seriously, shout out to Seriously. Seriously, you're awesome. Seriously, right? And the reason why I say that is because, look, we have different religions. You have my religion. I have mine. We have different outlooks on the particular matter in terms of Jesus. And here we are having a civil discourse on this particular matter. It's great and it's beautiful to see. Fresh Melon Juice says, let's see what you look like in 1 month. Let's compare it with the stream today. 3-plate Ramadan going strong. Oh, okay. Well, yes, I tend to lose, you know, a good amount of weight during Ramadan. So yes, you know, yes, respect, sir. Shout outs to you. Best version, the best version of the Christian Bible. What do you mean by that, Vic Seeks? Please elaborate with some context so that I can properly give you, you know, a proper response. Yeah, so, okay, back to Mark Zuckerberg's situation here.
I would say misstep by the company. They, for some reason, thought it would be a good idea for the entourage going in there. And if you want to show that footage again, feel free. Yeah, these guys, you'll see the one there who passes in the foreground, and there's a guy who's going to come into the frame on the right. They're wearing the Meta glasses that have cameras built into them. And as you know, Hugo, you're not allowed to film inside that courtroom. And so the judge, Carolyn Cole,
oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. His bodyguard. Look at this. This guy right here. This is his bodyguard or his lawyer or somebody that is important to Mark Zuckerberg. If you look closely, yeah, those are Meta glasses right there, right? Yeah, that is indicative. You see the little spot right there where there's a camera. Yeah. And then they said that they are not allowed to have cameras in there. So I don't know why Mark Zuckerberg wanted to have cameras. Maybe for his own personal use. Maybe he wants to create a documentary one day regarding these particular topics, but who knows?
Courtroom. So the judge, Caroline Cool, upbraided the Meta team and said, if you guys have recorded anything, you have to dispose of it, or I will hold you in contempt. That can't have been a good look for this for Zuckerberg going in. So your question here, what have we seen so far? I mean, for me, the thing that's so notable here is, as Carter mentioned, and as that mother mentioned, right, we've seen Zuckerberg testify in front of something like a congressional subcommittee before. And those are highly performative, highly scripted, and very disorganized proceedings where there's no real discovery, there's no real documents presented. It's a lot of, senators performing for the camera. In this case, you have real discovery. We have an enormous number of documents. And so he's going to his talking points, and then again and again, the plaintiff's lawyer is able to point out to him, but you do have this email here that says that your company goal was time spent, or here is the part of it where it says...
Correct. The company goal was time spent. Now, does that mean there was a malicious intent to target kids? There was no malicious intent, but there was an intent to target kids, because kids are the ones that drive content. They are the ones with the most free time on their hands, more than regular adults who have 9-to-5 jobs. So therefore, they're going to be consumed by it. And even adults who have 9-to-5 jobs are widely, consumed by social media content. Fresh Melon Juice says the historical evidence for the crucifixion of Jesus is considered very strong by the vast majority of scholars, often described as one of the most certain facts about his life. Well, I urge you to read Surah Al-Kheer in the Quran. That's all I'm going to say, right?
Internally, that you're, that there was harm being caused here. Here's where...
You know what? After this, Mark Zuckerberg, here's what we'll do. After the Mark Zuckerberg conversation, we'll transition over to the Eddie Hearn beef, right? And then after that beef, then we'll talk about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and then we'll go from there. This consensus is based on multiple independent sources, both Christian and non-Christian, as well as archaeological findings that confirm Roman crucifixion practices during that period. Yeah, they do practice crucifixions. The thing is, it wasn't Jesus that was crucified, it was Judas. Seriously said, but with respect, you said there are many scholars that say he wasn't crucified, but I'm sure that's exactly accurate, but I'm not sure that's exactly accurate, my brother in humanity. Okay, I like that, my brother in humanity, right? Obviously, I call my fellow Muslims my brother. In Islam, you call your fellowship in your church my brother in Christ. You call me your brother in humanity, I'll take that. Okay, we'll discuss that after this Mark Zuckerberg situation, and then the Eddie Hearn going at with Dana White, and then we'll discuss that further into the bonus stream. How about that?
Your internal documents say that 4 million...
But remind me, after the Eddie Hearn conversation, remind me, and then we'll transition into that.
Kids under the age of 13 are probably on here. All of that stuff is something he's never really had to face before, and so I think this is going to be a pretty grueling period of testimony for Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I have to say, wearing those meta glasses just seems so tone deaf in light of what this trial, this case is about, just doesn't make sense. Okay, David, some are calling this trial social media's big tobacco moment, but the defense argues problematic use is different than clinical addiction. So we spoke with our
Okay, that's an interesting portion right there. Hold on. She said something really interesting there.
Addiction acts different than clinical addiction tobacco moment. But the defense argues problematic use is different than clinical addiction. So
problematic use is different than clinical addiction. And that is what they're arguing right now, which I think is is a case of self-determination, right? Choices. Something that a lot of Republicans and conservatives, including myself, truly believe in, right? So, Fresh Melon Juice says, Roman historian Tacitus, AD 116, states that Christus was executed under the Pontius Pilate during the Emperor Tiberius' reign. Fresh Melon Juice says, Jewish historians Joseph AD 93 mentions in his Antiquities of the Jews that Jesus was crucified by Pilate. A letter from the Syrian philosopher Mara bar Serapion post AD 73 likely refers to the execution of a wise king of Jews. So think about the dates here, right? AD 93 years later, AD 73 years later, AD 116 years later. It says the 2nd century satirist Lucian and philosopher Celsius mocked Christians for worshiping a crucified man, indirectly confirming the tradition. I mean, we also mock that as well, right? Because it's just not what we believe in. You know, now we can get into controversy. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So we spoke with an addiction expert, Dr. Courtney Blackwell, about what that research really shows. Let's listen.
If you have CalFresh, Medi-Cal, or
All
SSI.
right, so let's listen to what the expert of addiction has to say about this particular topic. In the meantime, the Babylonian Talmud, Sanferian 43, references Yeshua hanged on a Passover for sorcery, though its connection to Jesus is debated due to chronological discrepancies. These are sources from significant. These sources are significant because they come from non-Christian and sometimes hostile perspectives, reducing the likelihood of biasness towards fabricating the event. Yeah, I mean, look. Jesus is not the Son of God. You're never going to convince a Muslim that, and you're also never going to convince a Muslim that Jesus was crucified, under Pontius Pilate. He was taken out of the situation, elevated into heaven, and was never touched. Think about this. Why would Allah allow a prophet to be executed or to be hurt? Now, we all live, we all die, but this is a very humiliating death that I don't think Allah would allow, in my humble opinion. But again, only Allah knows best. Okay, now let's go to Courtney Blackwell on her aspect of addiction. Ant 9000 says, is it true that Jesus is alive and Muhammad is dead in Islam? Well, yes, obviously Muhammad, peace be upon him, has died a long time ago, and yes, Jesus is alive but in heaven and is going to come down and fight the Antichrist through the belief that we have in Islam, very similar to that in Christianity as well. All right, back to the addiction expert Courtney Blackwell. Dr. Courtney Blackwell, to be exact. Let's hear what she has to say on this particular topic of Mark Zuckerberg being accused of purposely making kids addicted to Facebook and Meta.
Point in our research, it's inconclusive. There is no conclusive cause and effect of social media.
Correct, and that is what we believe in Islam. We believe that he didn't die, and in some ways that also kind of coincides with what Christians sort of believe in Jesus, but in a small and a different particular detail of his demise or lack of demise. Zab's World says R.I.P. Nancy. So is that confirmed? Has she passed away now? Let me know.
Causing youth mental health problems. We do know that young children and especially teenagers may be more vulnerable to some of these social media, thinking about likes and getting likes and posting and being a little bit more risky on social media. So we know that, but we don't know that it definitively causes different mental health conditions.
So, Jacob, just based on that, do plaintiffs need to demonstrate, what do plaintiffs, I should say, need to demonstrate in order to...
Okay, so when you hear an expert testimony like that, that doesn't sound too good for Mark Zuckerberg, does it? He says, my intuition is telling me she is gone. Well, here's the thing, Sab, right? I have that same intuition too, only I stop and think and realize, well, how are they going to get the ransom money? You know what I mean? Like... But unless they say, all right, we're not going to give you the ransom money, then, off she goes, right? But, yeah. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get this thing cracking.
Actually win this case, because that is kind of a good point.
Well, there are two things to think about here, right? The first is this company has, like all social media companies, enjoyed the protection of what's called Section 230, which is this obscure federal provision that is basically the get out of jail free card for social media. It allows them to basically say they are a neutral platform and they're not responsible for the crazy stuff that you and I post on their platform. Then there's that argument. Then the other argument is there an actual causal connection between the use of social media and the mental health crisis grabbing kids right now? Well, as your
Zab's World says, the thing is, we have no motive. We have no motive. Was she kidnapped or murdered? Well, here's the thing, right? She's rich. There's a possibility there. Does she have enemies that are well known, right? Like somebody that wants to get at her? Well, I would imagine that is what they are trying to investigate right now. So, yeah, there's a lot of motives that they're trying to piece together. At the same time, there's also a lot of incentives to keep her alive. So, you know, this is why it's a very complicated case at this moment that is still ongoing and continuously updating by every hour and every minute and every day.
Expert there points out, it has not been proven in any kind of conclusive way in a scientific sense. But what we are going to see in this courtroom, and what we have already seen, is that internal research at the company described the harms that could be done here, including, the harm of young girls using a filter that imitates plastic surgery. It shows you what you would look like if you'd had plastic surgery.
So I'll tell you what I don't like about social media, right? I think that a lot of people have really felt way too confident in the reality of how they really look. Like right now, when you're looking at this screen right now and you're seeing my face, this is really my face. There's no filter, right? I really have a clear face. I really keep my skin smooth and this and that, right? I don't use any filters because all these other women, they use filters just to feel better about themselves. It's really kind of pathetic, to be quite honest with you, right? But again, it's a crutch. You know what I'm saying? And this is the reason why a lot of you are having a hard time in the dating pool, because you don't really know what you're looking at or what you're getting at, especially when you see somebody that is completely busted in person. When, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go in there about trying to judge people because it is Ramadan. I'm going to try to be as nice as possible. So,
places in which an internal report at Instagram circulated inside the company said these people are these kids are weaponizing our functionality. They're cyberbullying one another. There's all kinds of harms that are documented inside the company's documents. And that is, of course, why this is called the big...
So here's the thing, right? Cyberbullying, yes, it's a real thing. Yes, it's a real problem. But I would argue bullying has always been a problem. Now, this is just a vehicle to bring it home in your face, outside of the school grounds and into your home, and basically making your life a 24/7 hellhole. Look, I've had enemies in the past, okay? And some that are documented. One in particular document beef that I had with another YouTuber in here in Sacramento. Yeah, man, I ruined his life in terms of using the social media aspects, right? Showed people the screenshots, showed people of him backing down on fights, saying that he was going to meet me at a place but never did. So, yeah, you can use social media as a weapon of propaganda. Unfortunately, kids are using it as a weapon of bullying others. So that's just the reality of it. Fresh Melon Juice says the ancient world crucifixion was shameful, reserved for the lowest death for slaves, rebels, which makes it unlikely early Christians would invent such a detail for their Messiah. Well, here's the thing, right? There you go. That answers your question right there, okay? The ancient world, crucifixion was a shameful thing. Why would Allah allow Jesus to deal with something that is shameful? That, by the way, is reserved for the lowest of death for slaves and rebels and criminals, right? Obviously, some of the people that were part of the crucifixion during that time, and we argue as Muslims that it's Jesus, that it's Judas. You argue that it's Jesus. I believe that he was crucified next to a thief, right? And yeah, so Yeah, so, yeah, this supports its authenticity rather than fabrication. Okay.
Tobacco moment is because it's those documents and the possibility that they might prove that this company knew in advance that there were harms and went ahead and shipped this stuff anyway.
So that's what they're trying to prove right now against Mark Zuckerberg, right? They're trying to prove that, hey, you know what? You knew that this was going on. You knew that this was a possibility, but you did it anyway, based on the fact that you know this was going to create engagements and basically make it better for your bottom dollar with the cost of the consequences in mental health issues that go on with the youth.
That's the thing that the plaintiff is going to be driving at, and that's why this could cost this company, billions of dollars and rewrite the rules for social media for all time.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because if Meta and Google are found liable for harmful design decisions, what kind of precedent would that set? What would it mean for the companies, and how would it basically just change how apps are used? And honestly, the money they make too, because I assume this advertising and all of that plays into why they design their app.
Exactly. I had just mentioned that right now. Okay, so
that's the way they do.
In less than a minute, we're going to get into that topic of Isa, peace be upon him's crucifixion, and then we'll go from there.
The essence of the case here, and the reason that Meta is taking it so seriously, is that it is truly an existential threat. They have actually said this in the past in filings of other lawsuits in which Section 230 was brought up, where they basically say it can be an existential risk to the company if Section 230 protections don't apply. And in this case, we know that Judge Kuhl has said, you, the jury, are allowed to consider design liability. That's a whole new thing. So not only is this an abstract precedent that we're setting here, Mugo.
Wow, design liability.
It is, in fact, a very real precedent being set, because this case is what's called a bellwether. It is actually a consolidation of precedent for what are supposed to be about 1,600 other cases. This is hundreds of families, hundreds of school districts. This is districts, attorneys general from different states. There is a long line, a fire hose of lawsuits coming at this company. And so how this one goes will determine whether those can go forward and what kind of damages they might be able to claim if they win. And so this absolutely is, there's the monetary threat here, but it is then the supposition that this could actually prove that design is the problem, that you're not allowed to just claim Section 230 protections, but your design could get you into trouble. That is a total game changer for this industry, Mugo.
Wow.
All right, so within 1 hour and 52 minutes of this live stream, we're going to talk about, did Jesus get crucified? That is the question that we're going to ask. Was Jesus crucified? Now, Muslims, we have a different belief on this. We believe that Jesus was not crucified. We believe that he was replaced by another man who betrayed him, or a man that resembled him, and that man could only point to Judas. Now, I ask my fellow Christians to ask themselves, what happened to Judas at the time of the crucifixion? Because something happened to him. It seems that the Quran has answers to that. Well, first off, in order to believe that, is the Quran really the Word of God? Well, let's take a look at this clip from Thomas Diolet, I believe his name is. But anyways, in 4 minutes, he's going to explain why the Quran is from Allah. Here we go.
And to make your holiday special, Tanzania has got so much to offer. From the famous...
Acknowledges himself. He literally does it throughout the whole Quran. Give me 4 minutes and I will prove that the Quran is from God. So the first thing that I start asking about, okay, the question we all ask is is this been written by a person, or does it really come from a higher power? And it's super interesting when you look into that, how the creator acknowledges himself. He literally does it throughout the whole Quran by asking questions back to us. Instead of we asking the questions, we get the questions back. And it's so fascinating. I mean, God invites us to look at the signs. For example, right over here, chapter 51, verse 20 and 21. It says, and on planet Earth, there are signs for those with certainty, and there are signs in yourself as well. Why do you not see it? It's literally asking a question, why do you not see it? We constantly look at our phones these days, but if you literally just take a step into nature, you look at the complexity of the universe, the sky, the stars, the nature, water, the fact that we are able to breathe, and it says here as well, and there are signs within yourself. I mean, look at the complexity of our bodies, the fact that I'm even able to speak, that I'm able to see, smell, and hear. It's actually something that we never think about, right?
Now, what's interesting about that, a lot of atheists are going to say something to the effect of, well, this life is just random. Everything is random, right? This is just all a random occurrence. Well, here's the thing. If life was such a random occurrence, why aren't some people born with their ears into their nose and their nose into their ear side? That is because Allah has designed us in a very perfect way. But all right, let's continue on with this and elaborate as to why the Quran came from Allah.
And to be honest, before looking into religion, I was fascinated by science, and I still am.
And oftentimes, a lot of people who convert to Islam are usually the ones that have come from a scientific background, and he's going to explain right now why is that.
Beautiful thing is that the more I started reading this book, the more I saw that it's absolutely in line with science.
There it is. Everything in the Quran is in line with science. There have been many archaeological findings, scientific findings, findings of all sorts that point at the reason why the Quran is real. For example, scientific findings that they didn't even know existed back then. Okay? Like, for example, they didn't know back then that the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean had different strands of salt, right? Different coloring. Nobody knew that because nobody was an oceanologist back then. When science started to evolve, guess what happened? Everything that the Quran talked about, even from the embryo, the woman's embryo before they had ultrasound, it was all in the Quran. And he's going to explain more on this.
And people always think like religion and science, they don't go hand in hand, but it actually does. In chapter 21, and this is one of the first that actually started to really convince me. It says, "Do the disbelievers not see that the heavens and the earth were once joined together and then we split them apart?" This is the Big Bang. I mean, this is the theory that science like literally started thinking about a little while ago, like maybe 100, 200 years ago. And it says after that, "And we made every living thing from water," H2O. I mean, our bodies are 70% water. How did the Prophet know that like so long ago, like 1400 years ago? And then the last question of this verse, "Will they then not believe?" It's like constantly asking questions. It's asking questions back to us, like, how do you not see it? And then there's this other chapter, chapter 55, which is called Ar-Rahman, the most gracious. It's one of the names of God, of Allah, that is described in the Quran. It is an entire chapter to this acknowledgement of questions and how this chapter, Ar-Rahman, is described. It is constantly giving signs, such as here it says, "He created man and taught him how to speak. He gave him all the tools to be able to speak." Or here, another sign. "The sun and the moon move in precise calculation." This is one of the first here. And then every single time, when he throws these signs in here, in this chapter, it is repeating the same question. So which one of God's favors will you deny? It is constantly giving signs. Look at nature, look at the animals, look at this. Many more signs do you need? How can we deny these favors of our Lord? Every single living thing is being made out of water. Like these things, but there are many, many more scientific like verses that were not proven by science yet in that time. I mean, 1400 years ago, this Quran has been put together, what's been revealed to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. For example, also here in chapter 51, it goes deeper into the same verse that talks about the Big Bang kind of theory. It says, "And the heaven we have constructed with strength, and indeed we are its expander." So God is expanding it. And this is what science proves. Science proves that the universe is expanding. Or here, for example, he created the day and the night and the sun and the moon, all moving in perfect orbit. And did you know that iron doesn't come from planet Earth? It comes from somewhere out of the universe. And the Quran says that. I mean, science found that out later, but it already was described in the Quran. How is that possible? Every single person has a unique fingerprint. It's also in the Quran. Also, the Quran came in a time where the Arabic world really started more looking into poetry. You know, all these rhymes and these things. But this was something that could never be written in those times, and even right now, by a human being.
we met in high school.
All right, so now that proved why the Quran actually came from Allah, let's read Surah Al-Kahf, okay? This is a verse that we read every Friday. And there's a good reason, okay? All right, so Surah Al-Kahf from 1 to 10. So we're told to read Surah Al-Kahf 1 to 10 every Friday, right? Let me read to you number 1 and 10. Number 1, praise be Allah who revealed the book to his servants, allowing no crookedness in it. Verse 2 in chapter 18, Surah Al-Kahf, making it perfectly upright to warn the disbelievers of a severe torment from him, to give good news to the believers who do good, that they will have a fine reward. Okay, verse 3, in which they will remain forever. And to warn those who claim Allah has an offspring. Okay? And to warn those who claim that Allah has an offspring. Who claims that Allah has an offspring? Who claims that Allah has a son? They have no knowledge of this, nor did their forefathers. What a terrible claim that comes out of their mouth. They say nothing but lies. Now perhaps you, O Prophet, will grieve yourself to death over their denial if they continue to disbelieve in this message. In other words, this is the reason why I don't debate this with a lot of people, even though I can, even though at times I should. I just don't. And this is the reason why, because the Quran tells us, now perhaps, O you Prophet, will grieve yourself to death over their denial if they continue to disbelieve in this message. Verse 7, we indeed made whatever is on earth an ornament for it in order to test them, in order to test which of them is best in deeds. Okay, and we will certainly reduce whatever is on the barren ground. Have you, O Prophet, thought that people of the cave and the plague were the only wonders of our signs? Remember when those youths took refuge in the cave and said, our Lord, give us mercy from yourself and guide us rightly through your ordeal. Okay, so there it is, right? That last part was talking about a part of history where a group of youths took refuge in a cave when everybody was living in sin, right? And then this particular chapter also talks about why many people believe that there is a son of God and why this is a lie. So what have I proven to you so far, right? I showed you a video with knowledge and information that I've known for over a couple of decades, right? In terms of, you know, actually practicing Islam within those couple of decades, right? Actually learning the Quran and understanding its message and understanding its meaning. All of that within that 4-minute video, right, that I reacted to. And then I showed you guys the Quran, Surah Al-Kahf, something that we read every Friday, that vehemently tells us Allah does not have a son, and what a horrible claim to have in this particular matter. So that is the reality of it. Now, you as a Christian and you as a non-Muslim or whatever religion you are, you can choose to believe it, you can choose to not believe it, but always remember that when it comes to Allah, okay, Allah knows that some people will never change. Allah knows that some people's hearts are sealed, meaning that they are blind, they are deaf, and they are ignorant to the realities of the world. And that is what we believe in as Muslims. So I hope you had some informative lessons on this particular segment, and I hope that you have understood some of the things that we talked about, and you can choose to believe it or not, because it is only Allah that chooses their believers, and it is only Allah that gets to decide who is a Muslim and who is not. So, all right, let's read some of these comments here. Okay, so Jesus appeared to Peter the 12, over 500 people at once, James, all the apostles, and himself. He stresses that there were not vague visions, but physical encounters. Yeah, by the way, Peter and these other guys, they were living like 100 years after Jesus, just for full context. He says there's a difference between dying for a belief one thinks is true, common history, like cult followers or ideologues, and dying for something one knows is a lie. He says people don't die for something they're lying about, especially not in a gruesome ways that they did without gain, no wealth, power, or status. Okay, so that is in reference to him believing that the crucifixion actually happened to Jesus. Seriously says Surah 5 verse 46 and 47, this is powerful because it speaks to the gospel as existing and tells Christians to judge by it. Surah 5:68 suggests that the Torah and the gospel are authoritative. Yes, this is true, but it has also been rewritten, so that's also another thing that has to be taken into consideration as well, right? It still has knowledge, but the authenticity of it still has to be questioned, right? Because it has been rewritten over and over again, and on top of that, the Arabic language is designed so that it is very difficult to change the Quran. That's why everybody around the world who is a Muslim can memorize the whole entire Quran if they put effort into it. And in fact, it's actually easy to remember and recite it word for word, verbatim, right? It's never changed for 14,000 years. 1,400 years, sorry, not 14,000, 1,400 years. Okay, so Fresh Melon Juice says, you commented about AD 93, how long after the Bible was the Quran written? The Surah 3 and 3 also. There's also evidence and scholars that believe Matthew and Mark are written before 70 AD. We know Paul's writings are way before 70 AD, so there you go. All right. I don't know about that, right? From what I understand, Paul is a historical figure that hasn't even met Jesus. So you could take that for what it's worth. And there are historical accounts that can vouch for that. All right, so I just wanted to get that out there real quick, just so, yeah, we can segue back into the Eddie Hearn topic. Let's hear what Eddie Hearn had to say about Dana White here.
But it's just what we do, because that's boxing, you know?
He says, I get the standpoint it's been rewritten, but the Quran calls it authoritative and confirms it, tells us that Christians to judge by it and to go to it when hearing the Quran. Does it make the Quran look questionable? No, because there are some things in the Bible that are in authoritative ways accurate, but also in historical ways inaccurate because of it being rewritten. So yeah, whereas with the Quran, it's never changed word for word. You know what it is. You have to understand, right? There are some words that were changed in the Bible, so therefore there's a lot of rules and regulations that is geared towards the desires of man rather than the actual commandment of God.
Are you surprised at some of the comments that Dana has made about it?
Yeah, I mean, normally...
All right, here's Eddie Hearn with what he had to say about Dana White.
It takes a good few years to someone to be that fucked that they come out with, he works for his dad. Do you know what I mean? So that's like, what are we, like a month in? I mean, Dana's always been quite up my arse, really, when it comes to giving me compliments about being a boxing promoter. I mean, when he says we don't have any vision, I mean, I look around here, you know, I'm looking at Ben Eubank here, 70,000 twice. I'm looking at...
Yeah, look, when Eddie Hearn said that Dana White doesn't have any vision, I just think that that has something to do with just promotional rivalry. Yes, he loves Eddie Hearn. Yes, he's friends with Eddie Hearn. He's been very friendly with Eddie Hearn over the years. But he's still going to criticize him in this particular matter because he's a rival promoter now, okay? It was all good a week ago when Dana White stayed in his lane in MMA and it was all good when Eddie Hearn was staying in his lane in boxing. Now they're intertwining, and now they are stepping on each other's toes, so something has to be said. So he comes up with this idea, oh, well, he works for daddy, he doesn't have a vision. Eddie Hearn is saying he has a vision, all right, but you have a vision as well. You just don't see it because you're too busy trashing me, because now you're in this business and it is your obligation to trash me. So he says, seriously says, Paul had an encounter with the resurrected Christ, and sorry, my brother in humanity, I came upon this stream randomly. I do follow MMA and train, but thought this was a religious show, LOL. Well, there you go. This is a perfect show for you then, right? You like religious talk, you like MMA, and you train. A lot of the guys that are in this chat train, right? And I can vouch for that just looking at their profile and who they train with. And then there are some people in here in the chat as well that I train with personally as well on a daily basis. So yeah, man, welcome. Seriously, I hope that you do like and that you do subscribe to the channel. You are very much welcome here. I welcome all of your discourse and your interactions and also your debates, right? These are all very stimulating and challenging, and on top of that, that's what we emphasize in this channel, inshallah.
Matchroom in LA, I'm looking at Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders breaking the record for the biggest indoor crowd ever in boxing. Joshua Ruiz won down there where we entered Saudi Arabia for the first ever time for the World Heavyweight Championship. Katie Taylor against Amanda Serrano setting out MSG for the first time ever for a female fight. I mean, it's just like, it's endless history that we've created. So, you know, I was surprised that he said that we lack vision, because at the moment, what vision is ZUFFA showing? What it's showing is 4 or 5 fights in, Max Kellerman telling you that that guy, I can't remember his name, nice kid, the Irish kid, is the next Roy Jones. And Charles Martin is headlining on a Sunday night in front of 126 people in a garage, in a ring that looks like it's been used for the club show that was there last night. What vision is that? In fact, that lacks so much vision.
No, that actually does not lack vision. What Dana White was doing there was creating something that's sustainable. When Dana White said that boxing behaves like a going out of sale business, they go all out for their boxing events. They don't think about Monday night fights, Tuesday night fights, Dana White Contender Series, fight nights at the Apex, which was the equivalent to the Hefe Ajagba Charles Martin fight. That's really what it was. It was the Apex arena equivalent to boxing. And then you notice they had uniformed type of outfits, right? One was wearing black, one was wearing white, and both of them had the ZUFFA boxing symbol. I mean, it's long term, right? They get these fights in. Okay, so what happened in the fight? Hefe Ajagba won, great. Now we can create a profile out of him. Now on to the next fight. Charles Martin, okay, we can get him back on these same Apex shows that we got going on, and then we can just continue on from there. That is what they are trying to do here. They're trying to go for the long term, whereas with boxing, they go all out for one event. They pay all the fighters the money that they quite frankly deserve, but at the same time, they're also losing a lot of money that they could use for the next coming event. So I understand that Eddie Hearn is slagging him off for that, but at the same time, the vision is long-term, not for the short-term burst. Okay?
I think what these people try and do, they kind of try and manipulate the fight fans, but where they're massively underestimated is fight fans are very smart. I know, because I've had run-ins with them for decades. They're not idiots. You can't just put on a random fight and go and have Max Kellerman on the voiceover going, this really is the best v the best. It's like, no, it's not, Max. It's some random fights that sometimes are entertaining, don't get me wrong. But like, if I put on Charles Martin on a headline fight on a Sunday, you guys, some of you are more pleasant than others, would rip me a new arsehole, right? But in that world, maybe you can actually convince people that the ZUFFA belt is the big belt for boxing. Not on my watch. Not interested. These people are going to be dangerous.
He said, not on my watch. Not, no chance. These people are going to be dangerous. What does he mean by dangerous? Let's find out.
Going to sign some big names, no doubt. Like we said, they may get some of our fighters, but long term, all they really want is control. And when he says I work for my dad, I do work for my dad, but he's worked for his dad for many years. The first set was the Fatisa brothers; they were his dad. Now he's got a new pappy, and the new pappy is Turki Al-Sheikh.
And guess what? Turki Al-Sheikh is everyone's daddy, okay? He is everyone's Abu, okay? Abu Turki Al-Sheikh, okay? He's everyone's Abu. He's everyone's father. By the way, Abu in Arabic means father, for those of you that are wondering.
So really, Turkey is Dana's daddy. And he has got to do...
Well, he's also your daddy. He's like your stepdaddy to your real daddy, and this, that, and the other. Yeah, I mean, he's everyone's daddy at this point.
Do what he's told. He ain't his own boss.
What does Ted make of all of this? Because obviously you got an issue with Ted.
Okay, that is true. Eddie Hearn is his own boss, and Dana White isn't. That's just the reality of it. But anyways, yeah.
I would think Turkey is watching those shows going, this is a pile of shit. That's what I would think. Because Turki Al-Sheikh expects the best. He expects the best matchup. He expects the best production. He expects the big crowds. He expects the great press conferences and the weigh-ins and the anticipation and the spinning of a narrative and a storyline, which none of this have. They do the weigh-in in some random back room with Tom Loeffler in the middle, who I love, and then they do a show with about 100 people, half empty, with absolutely zero atmosphere. And like I said, Max Kellerman, literally...
Well, look, to be fair, Eddie, you know, they are just starting out, right? The ZUFFA boxing thing is not really something that is out there right now, other than the Terrence Crawford and the Canelo fight, which, you know, obviously you can easily build from, right? But they are building the smaller names into the bigger names. And look, that's one thing about the UFC, right? You know why we have people like Sean Strickland, why we have people like Diego Lopez, why we have people like Sean O'Malley? We have people like that because of a product like the Dana White Contender Series, the Apex fights. Think about all the Apex fights that Sean Strickland has done before he got in there against Israel Adesanya. Think about that, right? And also think about just think about that, right? Nobody in the world of boxing is doing that to create the superstars of tomorrow in the way that the UFC is, right? And they're sort of bringing that model into boxing in order to create new stars. Could that be Hefe Ajagba? Sure. Right? Hefe Ajagba has lost a few times already, but they are trying to rebuild him and repackage him as somebody they could put into Apex shows, somebody that they could put into undercards. I do see the vision and the strategy that they have going on. It's just that in the standard of Eddie Hearn, where he has a going out of sale business every time, it seems that this is highly unusual for him to have these fights in a quote-unquote garage, as he mentions.
Talking the biggest load of bollocks I've ever heard in my life.
Well, you guys were puzzled. You didn't know when
Listen, I have no problem. This is why I'm surprised. Because as I said, it normally takes someone a good few years to be that battered into submission that you start getting personal, saying, well, he works for his dad. It's like, mate, do you realise that shit? What do you say about bashing babies or something? What the fuck? The geezer's lost the plot already. He's only done 4 shows. Do you know what I mean? But when you compare...
Yo, he said the geezer has lost his plot. He says, you see my comment about Fluffy and Strickland on yesterday's live. Yeah, I did. You said that you got Strickland by decision, and I have Fluffy by decision. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting clash right there. Look, Marty, I'll tell you what. You know it's a good fight when me and you disagree on the outcome, right? When me and you agree on the outcome, it's almost literally definitive that, all right, you know, this guy's going to win. This guy's going to win, and this guy, and that's that, right? Like, there is no There is no denying that. Well, what is this? Wait, hold on. Fluffy is hurt? They may have a replacement. No way. Fluffy is hurt. Oh, no. Yeah, it's going to be a great fight. I didn't realize just how good Fluffy is. Yeah, I didn't know Fluffy is Muslim. No, he's not Muslim, but we obviously have trained together before, and we shared the same card at Ultimate Reno Combat 35 back in July 20th, 2012. So, you know, I do have that, you know, relationship with Fluffy in that kind of way. He says, oh, just kidding. Yeah, and I got into it with his opponent. You know what I mean? I was literally going to street fight his opponent in the backstage that night, so...
Matchroom shows right now. My advice to Dana White is watch Wood Warrington on Saturday, watch Nunes Navarrete next Saturday, and then
yeah, that is a good fight, by the way. The Josh Warrington fight that they have going on this weekend, that should be fun as well on the boxing side. He says Strickland is in sick shape for this one. I think you'll be surprised at just how good his wrestling is. You know what, Marty? So this is kind of where I disagree with you, right? You say that he's in great shape, but I think he's in great boxing and striking shape, right? Very different from wrestling shape, right? I have yet to see really Sean Strickland grind down the way that, you know, we used to do in high school wrestling, right? He's not doing that. He's just kickboxing all day, right? He doesn't even do MMA sparring, to be quite honest with you, right? Like in the standard of Team Eagle Khabib and Team Alpha Male MMA, you know, that's a kickboxing sparring sessions that he does. So did you see the pics of him? Yeah, I did. Yeah, he looks great. He looks great. But, you know, I just think that that's all striking shape, right? And he's always a great striker. So therefore, he's going to be in great striking shape. Let's see if he's in wrestling shape. And for those of you that have wrestled, you guys know there's a difference between athletic shape and wrestling shape. Sean is just in athletic shape right now as a boxer, maybe even as a kickboxer at that. Yeah, he knows Fluffy is going to wrestle. He's ready for it. Inshallah, we'll see. If he does, then we're going to have a good stand-up fight because they're both going to cancel each other out. Fresh Melon Juice says, if Strickland has been doing rounds with Khamzat, he should. If Strickland have been doing rounds with Khamzat, he should be fine. Obviously not. That is now a conflict of interest. They are now in the same category. They are now destined or potentially in line to fight each other if it all goes well for Strickland. And then he'll fight at the White House. I know Strickland is saying that, oh, dude, I'll never fight at the White House. It's the Epstein list. Listen, guys, I'm not here to judge Sean Strickland as a fighter. He's a great fighter, okay? You can't take that away from him. But the guy is a grifter. The guy doesn't believe in anything. He says he has principles. He really doesn't. Sean Strickland is a stereotypical white American idiot who doesn't really have any strong political ideologies. He just goes with the flow or what sounds good or what sounds manly or masculine at that time to fit whatever ethos he's trying to push into the world.
Show you how it's done. Because right now, the comparison between our shows, we've got Matchroom, and what I'm seeing, compared to Matchroom, is dog shit. That's what I'm saying.
Why do you think the Charles Martin fight wasn't for the ZUFFA belt?
Oh, come on, I mean, you know, like before, you start saying the ZUFFA heavyweight world championship was Charles Martin. I mean, I love Charles Martin, by the way. He walks this planet like a gull, or whatever he does. But unfortunately, that was about 9 years ago, and he ain't done a lot since. But like I said, if I did Charles Martin headliner on a Sunday night in front of 100, imagine. I went, right, tonight, guys, we've got the big one. It's Charles Martin. Then we've got a massive crowd of 140, and it's in a ring that looks like it's just been put up by the local handyman. And wow, this is what we call the best be the best. And now we're going to go to a big VT about the fight. Hey guys, let me tell you that Charles Martin is on the big comeback. The one.
Look at Eddie Hearn doing an American accent right here. He's trying to sound like a Yank over here.
World heavyweight champion.
I'm going to get to your Sean Strickland comments in a second. Keep them coming while we listen to Eddie Hearn bust out some American accents here.
He's back in an explosive heavyweight matchup. Two titans of the division up against F.A. Ajagba, who basically just got beat by Mark.
F.A. Ajagba.
Only but gifted a draw. He's back against Charles Martin, the big punching southpaw, to put the heavyweight division back on the map. Over to you guys. But you lot would go to me, Eddie, have a day off. This is absolute wank, right? But there's a few people going, oh, you're amazing, this is amazing. This is the future of boxing. And by the way, it will get a lot better. But at the moment, let's call it what it is. Shit.
Jai Patai said that ZUFFA don't put on bullshit fights. After that reaction,
So what do you think about Jai Patai against Brandon Glanton, who got 109, 108 by Chris Smith? Right?
You have it listened, you type it in, and then you go digging.
I mean...
Yeah, Eddie Hearn is right about that, right? Jai Apatai's opponent, Brandon Glanton, right? By the way, a lot of people, when they heard the Dana White announcement for Jai Apatai versus Brandon Glanton, they're like, who? I'm like, yeah, I know who he is. He's a California fighter out of Riverside. He fought Chris Smith out in England. I believe it was an undercard for an Usyk fight, right? And so, yeah, Usyk versus Dubois, I believe. And, yeah, man, he got outpointed that whole entire fight, but he never got knocked out. Still a formidable opponent for Jai Apatai. And it's not like Matchroom doesn't do fights like that, okay? That's just the reality of it. They do fights like that as well, so let's not be mistaken here.
We signed Jai Apatai, and Jai Apatai signed with ZUFFA because he wants the unification matchups. This is the road to undisputed. Oh, and by the way, you're having another voluntary defence against a bloke that Chris Smith won every round against. Oh, and by the way, the IBF probably aren't going to sanction it, so you're going to get stripped as a world champion, which means you'll never be able to unify or become undisputed. Good luck, son. But don't worry.
Yeah, look, I don't agree with that, stripping Jai Apatai of the IBF belt just because the UFC has beef with the IBF. I don't like that at all, right? It's not fair for the fighter, right? Just because Jai Apatai decided to sign with Dana White. I mean, he probably wanted to sign with Dana White because think of it like this, right? Jai Apatai is an Australian fighter, right? He's signing with a UFC organization who, by the way, is in line with a lot of Australian fighters, has a specialty in promoting Australian MMA, Australian combat sports, period. Right? It's the perfect fit for him. And you're going to punish him as the IBF commission. You're going to punish him because he wants to sign with Dana White and because Dana White has beef with all you guys. It's not right. But it is the reality of the situation, and Eddie Hearn is right. That could prevent Jai Apatai from becoming undisputed. And maybe Eddie Hearn is right. Maybe he would have. It would have been easier for him to have the road to undisputed championship had he signed with Eddie Hearn. But that's not the case here.
You get a free tracksuit. So everything's sweet.
John Fury, Carl Froch. Where does it go for you? Where do you put your money?
I would never back against Carl Froch on the cobbles, ever. But John Fury's a big old lump. There'll be some illegal moves in there. But if they ever get close, Carl will be swinging. Do you know what I mean? So,
just on a more serious one, Anthony Joshua.
Oh, you're not serious, right?
No, but give me the latest one. Obviously, a lot of fight fans want to know just generally how he's, maybe not in the boxing decision, but how he's doing right now.
Look, I think physically he's still recovering. I think emotionally and mentally, I think he'll be recovering for a long time. I don't think it's something.
All right, so obviously from that point on, they start talking about Anthony Joshua. You guys can watch the rest of that at Boxing Social, where Eddie Hearn, in its whole entirety of the interview, calls Dana White a piece of Anyways, let's get back to this Sean Strickland situation. Oh, and by the way, how about Anthony Joshua hanging out with Khabib, right? Man, that would be awesome if Anthony Joshua decided to get into heavyweight MMA. Look, man, I understand what Islam is doing. He's trying to recruit fighters to build heavyweight MMA. And who better than Anthony Joshua? Look, everybody is saying that the heavyweight division right now is absolute shit, right? Well, if it is, why not bring Anthony Joshua in? He has the notoriety. He's got to learn some wrestling. He's got to go to Dagestan 2 to 3 years and forget. But he says he's only going to stay there for 2 to 3 weeks and then forget, or maybe not forget his wrestling, maybe build a new wrestling skill and then go into MMA. We need someone like Anthony Joshua in there. But yeah, anyways, just wanted to throw that in. So, all right, back to this Sean Strickland thing, right? I got to tell you, I saw his media day, right? Look, nobody does a media day at a press conference like Sean Strickland. I'm not going to take that away from him. It sounded like a podcast. I urge you guys to go listen to it, all 20 minutes of it. I would do it here right now, but I actually have to go soon, so I'm going to read your comments and then we'll call it a day, okay? So I do agree that he's just playing a character on more than anything. Okay, so Fresh Melon Juice says he knows what's out there. Yeah, Strickland is running his mouth with the same garbage is getting boring. Yeah, he needs new material according to Fresh. And Victory says no, but I came in here for a little bit. Okay, so yeah, you'd have to rewind back and yeah, take a look at that Jesus you know, thing, or maybe I'll make a video out of it, cut it up into a clip and make a video out of it so you guys can see, just like the whole little sauna situation. I also cut up a clip of that, and it was in there. It's in the Aiden Ross versus Glasses Malone. By the way, Glasses Malone was mentioned in Southland. Did you know that? You know, he was mentioned in Southland. That kind of shows you how long Glasses Malone has been in the rap game, right? Considering how old Southland is. That would be cool to see. Most heavyweights don't wrestle anyways. Yes, Anthony Joshua being in MMA. Look, here's the thing, right? Eddie Hearn is, well, I don't know what he's going to say about Anthony Joshua here, but a lot of people are saying that Anthony Joshua doesn't want to box anymore because a lot of these guys, all these guys that, the guys that died, the guys that passed away in that Nigerian trip, they were a focal point of Anthony Joshua's fighting career. They were always there for him, right? So it would be very difficult for him to go into a boxing ring. Well, how about this? Go into an MMA cage, build a relationship with Khabib, have Khabib and Islam as your training partners, have them bring a bunch of Dagestani heavyweights to come and spar with you and get you ready, man. Anthony Joshua could do it, bro. You know, I know a lot of people always shun new people for coming into MMA, right? Especially boxers. But you look at Anthony Joshua, he's built like a wrestler. He's got a good build to him. He's got length. He's got John Jones' reach. And the only thing that we need to work on is maybe his kicks. His kicks need to get a little bit better, obviously, because he's not used to kicking. Wrestling, he's got to wrestle. He's got the body for it. He's got the athleticism for it. So why not, right? Fresh Melon Juice says, do they have Dagestanis as big as Anthony? They do. They do. Maybe. Yeah, they do. They do. They have people at that size. If not, obviously, the Dagestanis are also tied in with the Russians. They can always bring in Volkov to come and work with him. They can bring Malikin to come and work with him. They could bring in that prospect in Bellator who trains with Vemkov, that guy who trains with Fedor, right? They could bring in all these guys. So, yeah, man, the heavyweight division is like just absolute garbage right now. Why not bring Anthony Joshua in if he doesn't want to box because his friends passed away? Why not build a new friendship with Islam and Khabib? They are your fellow Muslims anyway. And how about this, right? Anthony Joshua in MMA could finally come out as a closeted Muslim. A lot of you don't know, Anthony Joshua is a closet Muslim. He doesn't want to tell people he's a Muslim because he doesn't want to alienate his other fans in terms of, you know, the sponsorships that he has going on. He says he should go learn from Fedor. Well, there you go, right? Fedor is very close with Khabib. They could always bring him in if he comes to Russia or if Fedor decides to go fly in England and train with him there. Anthony Joshua could go train at London Shoot Fighters, right? He could learn a lot, learn how to be a much more elusive fighter. Now, I don't know if he can, you know, have those Prince Nassim, Tyson Fury wheels on, right? Or the TJ Dillashaw wheels that he has going on, or the Kyrie El-Kheer wheels that he has going on. Maybe it's a little too late for him to learn that, but man, the guy has serious knockout power, and he could probably knock out a lot of people with 4-ounce gloves. You won't be able to see him shadow boxing her face after the confrontation. You get to see the confrontation though. Oh, okay, you're talking about the video of yeah, because I had to cut off the camera afterwards. There's just some things that I can't reveal, you know, on that day. But yes, it is on the Aiden Ross versus Glasses Malone video. And then let's have Brendan Schaub make a comeback. Well, there you go. There's a sparring partner for Anthony Joshua, right? Come out to LA, train with Brendan Schaub. Brendan Schaub still has it. You know what, man? Listen, the way that the heavyweight division is going right now, Brendan Schaub could probably be top 10. You know what I mean? But he was already top 10 when he was in there. Maybe this time he'll be top 5. I don't know about champion, but I do know he'll be a great training partner for Anthony Joshua. Either way, why not, man? Brendan Schaub, come back, bring some light into the heavyweight division because it desperately needs it. All right, and with that in mind, guys, that is all that I have for you on this one right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one, inshallah.